people in jail because here's the thing, is that they see their charges and they see spending a couple of days or a couple of hours in jail sort of as what's the right way to put this? A badge of honor.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the groups that will bail them out and they send them from, place to place. And that's how the progressives operate. And so every time this happens, I will tell you, every time this happens, there's people in Los Angeles and they'll say, this is why we voted for Donald Trump. It is this kind of insanity. By the way, speaking of insanity, the trade wars begin tomorrow. President Donald Trump's tariffs, they are beginning tomorrow, of course, causing a firestorm of a response in the media. Of course, you have all of these people on the left, and by the way, people on the right as well, that are saying that this could be an epic disaster for the U.S. economy. This is what Donald Trump said last night.
No, I'm not concerned. We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion.
One of the things, as I've mentioned many times, desperate times call for desperate measures. And so that's part of what I think the president is referring to. We are $36 trillion in debt. The service on that debt is a massive number. And so right now, it's just not working. And so we do need to figure something out. And what I always find interesting is that you notice all of this hysteria over the Trump tariffs. 25% against Mexico, 25% against Canada, 10% against China. Canada has now come back and said that they are going to have a 25% tariff on our goods going into Canada. Mexico has also announced a 5 to 20% tariff on various products going into Mexico as well. But what I find fascinating is that all of these people that are hyperventilating, it is the end of the world economically for America. Why don't they scream and yell and have the same concern and dire worry about our economy when we're $36 trillion in debt? Why don't they complain and why don't they have the dire predictions about our economy when the service on all of that debt is massive? Nobody's hair on fire about that like ever. But everybody's hair is on fire regarding Trump and these tariffs. And so we're going to get into this a little bit today as well. It is 5:15 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads.
It is really quiet on the road so far this morning. Great time to get out to go to work. No delays on 24. Looks like 65 is doing well too. 40, no problems. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 5:16, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. All right, so we know we're not working on Facebook today. Malinoff, you want to talk about hair on fire? KGB has been working very hard behind the scenes. If you're a Facebooker, if you like to watch us on Facebook, just go to YouTube. We are, Jeff, apparently working on YouTube.
Yes, I managed to get YouTube working, but unfortunately not X, Facebook, or Twitch.
Okay.
I'm doing my best to try to get it back, but this is what Mondays do to people.
Mondays, I got to tell you, Mondays suck for a number of different reasons on Nashville's Morning News. Number one is because, well, it's Monday. And the other part of it is that what happens here on the weekends?
Oh, you never know.
It has been, I've been doing this shift for 3.5 years now, and you never know what Monday is going to bring. The equipment is always in different places, and some stuff might work. A lot of things don't work. And so, just like, Johnny used to have to deal with every single Monday morning, now Jeff is having to deal with it as well. And
so, funny enough, you want to know the title of this show I came up with that you just destroyed now?
What's
I
that?
saw it.
We all agree with Garfield about Mondays, except Dan. He loves Mondays. And you just did a 5-minute monologue saying that's not true.
Listen, I actually do love Mondays. I love my job. I truly love my job.
Oh, so
I
it's
do.
still valid. My
Yeah,
title's
sure.
okay. Good. We'll take it.
Yep. I like my job. I really do. Except this morning, I'm a little hungover. We're going to get into that.
Wait,
coming
what?
up.
Oh, yeah. I witnessed it.
Wait, what? What? I must
Uh-huh.
have missed something.
Yeah.
Mm.
We'll talk about it at 5:35.
It's a scandal.
A scandal.
I had so much to drink this weekend, and I don't know why I had so much to drink this weekend.
Didn't he just finish telling us like last week that he's not a drinker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recall that, but that might be the alcohol.
Well, yeah, that's. So I'm very excited to hear this now.
All right, so we'll do that at 5:35 on Super Talk 99.7. It is interesting though. The drunker that I get, the more the Democrats actually make sense.
Oh, that
Because-
can't be.
You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
no, because if you're drunk and you're listening to Democrats, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only when you're sober that you realize that they are the ones that actually sound drunk. Anyway, so we've got a number of things in the news today. We've got the trade, the tariffs, the trade deficit, all of that. We're going to go into deep detail on that coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Donald Trump went after ISIS, not ICE, but ISIS. Trump went after ISIS in Somalia and took out a bunch of ISIS terrorists. I love that, and I loved his message for ISIS as well. Basically saying you can run, but you can't hide. We will hunt you down, and we will kill you. And that's what he did with a bunch of ISIS folks in Somalia. We'll talk about that. Turns out now, big news out of the weekend that Iran actually is now working on some nuclear weapons with the help of North Korea. Not real surprising, but at 7:05, we're going to speak to James Carafano about all of that and a whole lot more. And Joan, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've got my finger on the pulse of Nashville.
Oh, yeah?
I've been here for a long time, and I feel like I know exactly what Nashville needs. And so over the weekend, there was a major story.
Yeah.
I was shocked at what former Governor Haslam and others are trying to bring to Music City. I think that it is exactly what Nashville needs, is what Haslam is trying to bring to Music City and to the volunteer state. Exactly what we need.
Yeah?
Yeah, if you want your first KGB rant, I can go on about that.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna talk. I'm being facetious.
I hope so.
We'll talk about that. And what is it that former Governor Bill Haslam wants to bring to Music City? That and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is a very busy Monday here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Find us on YouTube only so far this morning. That is where WTN TV is housed this morning. And by the way, just so you know, YouTube is where I like to watch, whether it is Chris Hand or Chad or Matt Murphy. That's where I like to watch WTN TV. Is on YouTube. It just works best. All right, 5:20. Joan Jones coming up in the news at 5:30. What do you got?
Well, we'll tell you what's behind the panic at Opry Mills Mall on Saturday, and we'll tell you what police are saying about it. Also, Nashville is preparing to sue the state legislature over one component of the immigration law that was just passed last week. Those stories and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
526, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into your Monday, February 3rd. Hope you're doing well. Dan Mandis along with KGB, Jeff Malinoff, and Joan Jones as well. Of course, we all know what is going on across America, and that is mass deportation. We've got ICE, and they're doing what the American people have asked President Donald Trump to do. And now we have, of course, as we were talking about at the beginning of this hour, we do have massive protests going on in places like Los Angeles. If I'm ICE, I kind of know where to find the illegal aliens. They're all on the 101 freeway blocking lanes. Anyway, so Tom Homan was on with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, and he gave us an update on the numbers. This was on Sunday.
Can you assess your work so far?
Well, look, I looked at the numbers this morning, Maria. The crossings on the border are down 93%. 93%.
Wow.
That's a bigger decrease than under the first Trump administration. So, look, I've said it. President Trump is a game changer. No one has had the success he's had on securing the border. He clearly understands we can't have strong national security if we don't have border security. We need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. And we have achieved a success on the border already. We got more work to do. And on top of that, as far as the deportation operation, we're just shy of, I think we got 5,000 already arrested the first week. And majority of them being criminals. The non-criminals, and the media's talking about, who are these non-criminals? The non-criminals are arrested in sanctuary cities because you force us into the community rather than arresting the bad guy in the jail. And when we find that criminal, he's most likely with others, and they're going to go too. So if you want to be a sanctuary city, you're going to get exactly what you don't want. More agents in the community and more non-criminals arrested.
Look, that's what we talked about. We spoke about that last week and the week before and the week before that. The sanctuary cities, they're so knee-jerk. It's like we spoke about last week a number of different times, where you have these sanctuary cities, and they're so knee-jerk in trying to react and respond to trying to prevent ICE from going in, getting the bad guys, and deporting them. And so ICE has to, and Tom Homan has to go and find these dirtbags on the streets. And as you just heard from the border czar, okay, well, that's fine. Because we'll only get that guy, but we'll also get the dirtbags that he's hanging out with. Because, you know, if you're somebody who robs, who maims, who rapes, who murders, who steals, then, as I said last week, and a lot of people agree with me, well, you're probably not hanging out with angels. You're probably hanging out with people that are just like you. And so as Homan says, listen, if you want to be a sanctuary city, that's fine. Because then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get the bad guys on the street and we'll get his buddies. So one way or another, the folks at ICE, they're getting the bad guys. And as you heard, the numbers look good. But for President Donald Trump, he wants those numbers to be higher. And I very much predict that those numbers are going to go higher. We'll keep you updated. And again, James Carafano from the Heritage Foundation, we're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about ISIS. We're going to talk about illegal immigration and mass deportation. All of that coming up right here on Nashville's Morning News at 7:05. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones with the news is right now.
Good morning, 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It's 51 degrees fair skies right now, but check this out. We'll have sunshine and 72 beautiful degrees later on today. We'll have more on the forecast in a moment. A crush of shoppers ran panicked away from Opry Mills Mall on Saturday afternoon after a fight broke out between a couple at a Chili's restaurant. The fight spilled outside. Mall security guards followed with guns drawn. This man tells News 2 that it happened as he and his family were sitting at the food court.
2 mall security guards came in again from that entrance and started telling everyone to get the heck out of the mall. So we collected everybody we were with and got out, and then saw the parade of police and everything coming in.
There were rumors that there were shots fired, but police say there is no evidence that there was actually a shooting. Nashville is considering a lawsuit to block the illegal immigration bill just passed by the special session of the General Assembly that includes making it a felony for any elected official to vote to create sanctuary cities or policies. Metro Legal Director Wally Dietz.
It is unprecedented, and it's a totally different situation. And also the threat of removing from office for a legislative vote.
The ACLU is lining up against that bill as well. Governor Lee has yet to sign it. President Trump's tariffs on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China were imposed over the weekend, and now legacy media companies are pushing the narrative that it will lead to higher prices for Americans. Well, Trump says that may be true in the short term.
The administration acknowledges there might be some short-term pain, but their argument is this will incentivize companies to boost their manufacturing in the U.S., to encourage more domestic manufacturing, which would in turn create American jobs. The idea being if companies in the U.S. have to pay more to bring stuff from other countries, then why not just build factories here and lower those costs?
That's ABC's Elizabeth Schultze reporting. Now, the tariffs begin on neighboring Canada and Mexico tomorrow. Ahead of that, the Dow futures right now are down 553 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Yeah, no delays this morning. Still on 24, just a little bit slow as you're approaching 40. Otherwise, really no problems on the roadways. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Monday, February 3rd, along with Jeff Malinoff, KGB, and Joan Jones is here as well. Now, Joan, I don't know if you remember, but per your contract of employment, you're not allowed to really talk about anything that happens off the air.
Right.
So you're sworn to secrecy as to my absolute drunken behavior that you witnessed yesterday when you happened to see Amy and I at the Arrington Vineyards, Arrington Winery, whatever you call it.
You were down. My family lives right next to there. So
okay,
just fun fact. Yeah, yeah, they live in College Grove.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's how I knew that you were drunk right away, because I saw you. You were like, "Hey, Joan," and you hugged me. I was like, that's it.
That's a red flag.
I went in for the hug.
Hey, went in for the hug. Yeah.
Joan.
I would just put my arm in his chest. Just no.
I can assure you, KGB, I'll never come in for a hug with you.
If you do, I will fight back.
Anyway, so yeah, Amy and I were having a great time. And then there's Joan. And I'd forgotten, actually, that you had said that you were going to the winery. And for Amy and I, it was kind of a last-minute kind of a thing. I've been drinking all weekend. Like, I don't know if I sound hungover. I hope that I don't.
I was pleasantly surprised that your eyes are very clear this morning. So you must have been like putting drops or something in to make you look like you're not hungover.
What was the occasion? You were just that excited that a WNBA team was coming to Nashville?
No. Trust me when I say we were not hoisting a few drinks for the WNBA. But real quick, we'll talk about that. But I got to tell you that I did have, I think, about 6 bottles of wine.
Bottles?
What? 6 bottles?
Well, in fairness, they were skinny
you mean
bottles.
Glasses, right?
No, they were the skinny bottles.
Did you take
So that
them
makes a
home?
difference.
Let's just say this. I did a lot of drinking. Wow. I'm just going to leave it at that. And so I was drunk. Like, I was absolutely flat out drunk.
Did you happen to, because we were on the hill section, you were also on the big hill section. If you stumble when you're drunk like that, you could go for a long way down that hill.
You could.
I passed by that Arrington Vineyards on my way to my parents a lot. I've seen multiple people fall down that hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So of course Amy drove, and I was still recovering from my Saturday night when I went for the first time ever. I've been here for over 10 years. I went to go see the band Six Wire at 3rd Lindsley.
Okay.
So, that is an incredible band, Six Wire. I've wanted to see them for a long time. And we had a great time there as well. We were hanging out with Sister Pamela Furr, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
So, I had a lot of just embarrassing drunken behavior this weekend. So, I'm a little...
You really let your hair down, huh?
It's because you're bald.
Joan, fine. But anyway, had a great time at both of those places, and so it was a lot of fun. My brain is a little fuzzy. I'm not gonna lie. My brain is a little fuzzy, kind of like the amount of hair that I have on my head, just fuzz.
Just fuzz.
But a great time was had by all, and that place is just incredibly cool. Not only 3rd Lindsley, but also Arrington Winery.
Arrington's huge for a winery. It's huge.
It was such a perfect day for it too, because the weather was gorgeous. It's going to be even nicer today.
We're going to be in the 70s this week. Like, that's...
I know.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was hanging out with someone the other day, and they were just like, it's fall spring. I'm like, well, why are you bumming me out? Just let me have this.
Because the rodent came out of the ground on Saturday and said, we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter.
It was Groundhog Day?
On Saturday.
No, I guess it was yesterday.
On Sunday, of course. It was
Sunday,
on Sunday.
yes, yesterday.
I was just catching up on sleep this weekend, so I missed a lot.
Oh, wow.
For the life of me, I don't understand why anybody cares about that stupid groundhog.
It's a huge deal. And
it was a great movie, okay?
It's a great movie with Bill Murray. But
That's the reason it keeps going, honestly.
I mean, I for the life of me, I don't understand why anybody pays attention to that stupid groundhog.
What is the origin behind it? Did it actually like predict it at one point and people were like, oh, it's always going to predict it?
No, I don't know why they started doing that, but it's dumb. And
It's an old tradition. It's got to be it's like in the hundreds of years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Why would you stop a tradition like that? It's fun. It's just fun. It doesn't have to be accurate. It doesn't have to be scientific. It's just ridiculous fun.
I said, I may have been drunk when I said this.
Of course you were.
I said, because Amy told me 6 more weeks of winter.
Yeah.
And I may have said.
Did you threaten the life?
I did.
No.
I threatened the life
rodent.
of the groundhog. So again, there's some good old boys from Tennessee that can go hunting.
It's probably too gamey anyways. Probably doesn't even taste good.
Nobody said eating the damn thing. I just wanted moving right along. Anyway.
No.
Sorry,
So-
I'm a meat eater. I'll eat any. If you kill something, I'll probably cook it.
They're so cute, those little groundhogs.
Okay, now we need to cook one.
I'm reasonably certain there's people on the super text line that will tell us they've eaten groundhog.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't know about
All right, here's the thing. Hey, chat, let me know what's the most exotic animal you've ever eaten. I want to hear. I want to hear the most like craziest, like like horse or.
I had never had venison until I came to Tennessee.
That's gamey. That's an acquired taste.
I've had ostrich.
You ate ostrich?
Yeah.
How'd it taste?
I've had ostrich eggs.
I wasn't crazy about it. I've had alligator.
Okay.
That was good.
Alligator was good?
I believe it or not, in Florida, I've heard very good things about how they cook alligator down there.
Okay. Very good.
On a grill, real like burnt on the outside. It was really good.
You know, the only thing that I've had that would be considered exotic would be like venison, and I did it one time. Like a listener
Sounded like
actually,
it's like smoking weed. I did it one time.
A listener actually brought in some venison for me, some venison pasta. Very cool.
Pasta? Oh, so it was like with like spaghetti.
Okay, you want to hear a really gross story about deer? So this is how like far out into the woods we are. Our next door neighbors hunted and caught a deer in the woods behind our home, and our neighbor came over, love him, with a plate. And he said, I've got some deer heart slices. Would you care for one?
Oh. Heart slices.
Heart.
Not even artichoke hearts, just
Nope.
deer hearts.
Deer heart slices.
So Larry.
Did you eat it?
Nope.
Okay.
So our boy Larry in the chat says he's had alligator, bear, and moose.
Oh.
How's bear, Larry? I'm curious about that one. Moose, I feel like is the same as deer in a sense.
Yeah.
But bear, that's a different kind of. That's different.
Yeah. I don't know.
Somebody said they had jellyfish. I feel like that may have been a mistake. Like I accidentally ate the jellyfish with my mouth open in the water. You know?
I think in Japan that's like they. It's they have some.
Is that like sushi?
Yeah, in a sense, I would assume so. I think they take out the stingers and just leave like the top part of like the jellyfish.
You can use a stinger to like pick your teeth like a toothpick.
Well, they have like puffer fish kind of sushi as well. You know, that's poisonous. They take out the poison glands in that and eat
Hey, you
that.
guys want to hear why I got in trouble on Friday?
Why now?
Dan, you got to grow hair. It's ridiculous that you're bald still.
I'm beginning to feel like I am cursed. Like I can't do anything right anymore. Friday, I got in trouble for sitting the wrong way. So
where?
Here.
No, his wife at the vineyard. She's like, why are you sitting like that? Why are you on your face?
Why are you, Arrington Vineyards? Why are you slumping? Because you keep giving me wine, woman.
Double fist and skinny wine bottles.
So I got.
She wanted to take advantage of you.
So I wish you would have. So
No.
I went down to the.
Amy's better than that.
Moving right along. I got called into the boss's office, and he said, "You're sitting the wrong way." He said, "What do you mean you're sitting the wrong way?" Do you remember, Joe, in the old days when they would pull up a piece of audio and play it for you?
Yeah.
He pulls up the stupid camera. And he says, "You're sitting the wrong way. You're supposed to be facing the camera." And I said, "You know that I'm doing a radio show, right?"
It's no longer radio. You know that.
It really isn't.
It's a multiple medium.
And so they actually pull up. I got to tell Chris Hand about this. He actually, and by the way, I'm not bagging on anybody. I love the boss here.
Wait, did he pull up the Chris Hand video and say you need to do more like Chris?
Hand. And I kid you not, do you know what he said?
Be more like Chris.
City wrecked, like Chris Hand is.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't know what Chris is going on over there, but I'll try to sit up straight.
He has good posture. I'll give him credit.
So anyway.
So now.
So now.
Yeah.
Stop slouching. Just straighten out your back.
Not only do I have to sit awkwardly in the chair and look at the camera, but I also have to sit up straight. Somewhere my mother is looking down upon us from heaven and saying, I told you, Danny, sit up straight. I told you this for years.
Did she call you Danny?
Oh, she sure did.
Yeah.
She called me Danny. She called me Bubba. She called me Bubs. She actually never called me Dan.
So now with you sitting up like this and facing the camera, we get to see your dad sweater today. That's a very dad sweater.
You like this? Little dad sweater? Very
good.
Well, if you want to check it out, go ahead. We are on only YouTube today, it would appear. Do you know, Joan, why we're only on YouTube today?
Because something messed up?
Because Jeff, you'll love this. I'm going to get in trouble. We're only on YouTube today because they fixed the system.
So we're using finger quotes and saying fixed the system?
So I don't even know what was wrong with the thing. But they came in and they fixed it.
Yeah.
And in doing so, they created like 9 other problems. It would appear. I don't know what happened because I
easily could have done something. I don't know what it would have been, but I just remember trying to hit the stream and it just wouldn't go.
So maybe you shanked something, Jeff.
I highly doubt it because I just tried to keep hitting the stream to go and it just wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So I was like, and it told me I had to log out and log back in.
Yeah.
And I did, and it just would only use YouTube now.
All right, real quickly, because I teased it. So what is Nashville and Tennessee missing that clearly Tennesseans have been screaming for in the streets?
Can I give you the real answer?
There have been...
Pickleball.
The WNBA.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my
God.
God.
There was a story over the weekend, and the apparently former Governor Bill Haslam, somebody said, and I have no way to prove this, but somebody said Peyton Manning is also involved in trying to bring the WNBA to Nashville. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I never once have I heard anyone pining in the streets for the WNBA. And all I've ever heard regarding the WNBA is that they lose money and there's no interest. Now, I will tell you that in 2024, they had a far better year than previous years. But you know why that is? It's because of that Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
Guess how much money they still lost, though?
How much money did they lose, Jeff?
$50 million.
$50 million. So the WNBA lost $50 million, and apparently some people believe that the WNBA is wanted here in Nashville.
You know what they've been clamoring for really is the MLB. They've been dying for a Major League Baseball team here because the Braves are huge down here and the Sounds are popular. Mm-hmm. So everyone's like, yeah, bring in baseball. And I think it's like a license to print money if you have that as well.
Right.
But they thought, no, let's bring in a league that no one cares about, that loses money regularly, that will bring a deficit to probably whoever owns it.
Yep. Keep going.
And the worst part of all, Caitlin Clark, who is the biggest name to come into the WNBA ever, every woman in the league is jealous of her and wants her out of the league, basically.
Dude, they have basically assaulted her on the court.
Yeah.
The jealousy it's gross how jealous some women are of her.
So it's jealousy is one thing. Mm-hmm. You see that even in the NBA.
Yeah. This is a whole new level.
This is assault. They don't like her because... I've heard people say they don't like her because she's white, and they don't like her because she's straight. That's what I've heard. So,
honestly, those could be big reasons, but also just because, this is how popular she was. In Iowa, when she was playing basketball, a preseason game for women's college basketball was at the Iowa football stadium. It sold out.
That's what I mean.
Preseason game.
So when they talk about how the WNBA had a record year in 2024, in as much as they didn't lose as much money as they were. But here's the thing. is that it's all because of Caitlin Clark, who a lot of the other women in the NBA, in the WNBA, are trying to destroy her. And they are really, it's like they've got Caitlin derangement syndrome.
Oh, yeah. And you know what pisses them off even more? She's humble and understanding and tries to just...
She's got a little woke about her. She does have a little woke about her.
She's got a lot of woke about her.
I think that's her just trying to survive in the league,
Is
to
it?
be honest with you.
Listen.
Because if she did, like, lean a little bit to the right, she would be even more crucified.
First of all, if somebody wants to be woke, whatever. I'm not one of those people that's going to sit here and scream all the time about that. But what I would say is that for the WNBA to continue to try to destroy, do you know who she was hanging out with at the Chiefs game?
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Oh.
Did you know that Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift, they were watching the Chiefs game? I guess it was not like the last game they played, the playoff game, whatever it is. So
I hate her now.
do you know? No.
I just hate the Chiefs that much.
Do you know how much the WNBA capitalized on Caitlin Clark, their biggest star, hanging out with the biggest pop star in the world? They didn't. They didn't capitalize on it at all. Why wouldn't they?
I forgot you're a big Swiftie.
I'm not a Swiftie. Stop it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that if it's the WNBA and you've got your biggest star hanging out with, why would you not capitalize on that?
Right.
In your defense, Taylor Swift is probably the most popular person in the planet.
Listen, just so we're clear, because now you're maliciously maligning me on my own show.
I just told. Okay, forget it.
Is that I used to be a Swiftie. I listened to Taylor Swift with my daughter growing up. Joan, you haven't heard this story. Actually, you haven't heard this story either, KGB. When my daughter was growing up, she loved Taylor Swift. And so she and I would listen to Taylor Swift together. And it was our thing. And so we've been to I think 3 or 4 different Taylor Swift concerts.
That's sweet that you do that.
Yeah, but I think her last album was complete and utter garbage.
Yeah.
It was complete garbage. It was, she's self-obsessed. And I think everybody knows that about Taylor Swift
You just
now.
figured that out?
No, I didn't just. Why are you here today?
I need something to cheer me up.
Okay, and picking on me.
Yeah.
By the way, just so people know, when Jeff and I and Joan and I, when we all have fun together, we're having fun.
Yeah.
I'm not. I have no.
We throw shots at each other out of love.
We do. Somebody was like, "Why are you always picking on Malinoff?" It's like, oh my goodness, do you listen to the show?
Yeah, I get my shots in.
I'm the one that's on this radio station. I am picked on by far the most.
I wish we could do that.
All right, we're done.
We got to pick on
done
Joan more. I feel like we got.
No, you know why?
Because they would turn on us, the fans.
They absolutely would.
I'm the only girl.
Well, I do have a star on your camera for a reason.
That's right.
You have a star on my camera?
No, on her camera. When I switch the cameras,
who's the real star of the show?
Yeah.
Yes.
The button to turn to her camera is a star.
Hey, by the way, real quick, what is our poll of the day?
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree with Trump's tariffs? Yes, no, and for the non-fun, the undecided.
So the tariffs, big news story today. I'm going to go into that in some detail coming up here in the next segment because there's this huge debate going on about the tariffs, and so we'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News, 5:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 6. Joan.
Well, the tragic reason that drivers were sitting in traffic for hours yesterday on 24. Also, we've got the latest on 2 plane crashes. Those stories and more coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Take the Daily Dan poll. Watch us on YouTube. And all you got to do is go to YouTube and search Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And there we are in all our glory. And again, you can go ahead and take the poll as well. And the poll question for today, the Daily Dan poll, do you agree with Donald Trump's tariffs? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. Also in the next hour, I love this question from Jake Tapper to one of the leaders of the Democrat Party.
Why is your party so staggeringly unpopular with the public?
Oh, wait till you hear that conversation. It is all straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We have some trouble this morning in Spring Hill. Main Street northbound, the off-ramp to eastbound Saturn Parkway closed off. A couple of streets and on-ramps and off-ramps are closed in that area. It's police activity. Not really sure what's happening there, but we'll check into that. More in the news coming or after the news. I-24 eastbound lanes, they were shut down for hours yesterday, and cars were backed up for miles after a motorcycle crash. Police say that the cyclist was merging onto the roadway from Harding Place when he collided with the side of a tractor trailer. The motorcycle driver, 36-year-old Derek McIntosh of Smithville, was killed. I-24 was reopened after about 4 hours of cleanup and investigation work. A joyride turned into a drag racing event on I-40 last night when police spotted a car speeding. They tried to pull him over, but the driver sped off and was tracked by a police helicopter. Now, police eventually did pull him over on Murfreesboro Pike. 19-year-old Braden Hoffman was booked into jail for driving at speeds over 120 miles an hour. Police found pot and a pipe in his car. Hoffman's been released on $34,000 bond. The families of victims of the Washington, D.C. plane crash visited that site yesterday. Today, the Army Corps of Engineers are removing the jet and helicopter wreckage from the Potomac River. There's also news about that Friday night plane crash in Philadelphia.
The cockpit voice recorder has been found 8 feet down inside a massive crater where the Learjet made impact. The surrounding scene littered with burned out cars. An 11-year-old and her 31-year-old mother, along with 4 crew members and 1 person on the ground, were killed. 22 were injured, some critically.
ABC's Allison Kosick there. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
A day before tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China take effect, President Trump admits that Americans will experience what he's calling short-term pain. Economists believe the tariffs would apply to nearly half of U.S. imports and drive up prices on goods. The stock market has responded with a deep retreat. Dow futures overnight were down nearly 650 points. On Friday, the industrials fell 337 points. The S&P lost 0.5%, while the Nasdaq gave up 0.25%. Tariff talk also has hit the crypto market. Coinmetrics put the price of Bitcoin at $93,768 Sunday, well below its January record. Ether slumped 20% yesterday to its lowest since November. Despite the potential for higher prices and sinking investments, Americans are more bullish on the U.S. economy than they have been in a decade. A Gallup poll conducted in the first 2 weeks of January had 53% of respondents expecting the economy to grow in the next 6 months. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
We've got Dow futures slumping even further this morning. They're down 612 now, and NASDAQ futures are minus 382. S&P futures, they're down 94. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, it's a problem this morning on Saturn Parkway. The eastbound lanes between Main Street and Kedron Road, they're closed off. It's police activity there. Also, Main Street, the northbound ramp, the off-ramp to the eastbound Saturn Parkway lanes, that's also closed off this morning. It's police activity. Not sure what it is, but we're checking into it. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Welcome on in to your Monday, February 3rd. Hope you're doing well, along with KGB. Joan Jones as well. Watch us on YouTube. Be sure, by the way, to like the channel. You can also take our daily Dan poll. Do you agree with Donald Trump's tariffs? I got to tell you, this is a big story for a number of different reasons, of course. It's not a real surprise that President Trump has done this. He's been talking about this for a long time. So over the weekend, this became bigger news because Canada and Mexico, they have come back now with their own responses to Donald Trump and his tariffs. Now, ultimately, the question is, will this impact your economy? Yours. Listening at home. Driving along as you're heading to work. Stuff could get more expensive. I'm just telling you, stuff could get more expensive. I think a lot of folks agree that this could result in some short-term pain, but it could be short-term pain for long-term gain. So the president was asked last night on the tarmac if he was worried about the responses from not only, of course, Canada and Mexico, but also China. This is what he said.
No, I'm not concerned. We may have short-term some little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion.
I mean, here's the deal. And some of this, you understand why it is that the president is justifying these tariffs. Number one, and we're going to hear a great explanation from JD Vance here in a second, but you look at Canada and you look at Mexico and you look at the issues we have with both our northern and our southern border. So that's one of the big justifications. But Donald Trump has also said that he likes tariffs. He believes, and he has floated this idea, that it would be great if we replaced our income taxes with tariffs. He says we could make America great again. We could make America rich again. And so one of the things that I've noticed, and this has been going on a long time, friends, is that everybody has an opinion on this. You've got a lot of conservatives who are split on this because they will tell you that this will, and these are Donald Trump supporters, and they'll tell you that this will end up with prices higher in the short term. Maybe in the long term, who knows? But that's the big question. Who knows ultimately what is going to happen with these tariffs? You know, you hear some people, some of these conservatives, Republicans, that are screaming about Donald Trump's tariffs, and they don't scream nearly as loud about what you just heard the president talk about, which is the $36 trillion in debt that we have, or the fact that even the service on that is driving us to economic ruin. And so what we've been doing clearly is not working. And so there's a number of different justifications for this. Number one is economic. Number two is punishment because of all of the fentanyl and the illegal immigration that has come across our southern border. And so he talks about the trade deficit. He talks about the fentanyl and the illegal aliens. He doesn't feel like, Trump doesn't feel like China and Mexico are doing enough to stop the fentanyl. Well, no kidding. Because that fentanyl, the ingredients are being manufactured in China. They're shipped to Mexico where they manufacture and they make all the fentanyl and they combine it with drugs, and then off it comes into our country. And it kills over 100,000 people a year. And so it's a team effort between China and Mexico and the cartels. And Mexico, the government isn't doing nearly enough, as in really it doesn't seem like anything, to stop it. Now, as far as Canada goes, we have a roughly $65 billion trade deficit with Canada. Trump puts it at $250 billion. Let the debate there continue. There's various numbers out there. A lot of that, by the way, is energy. So the more energy independent we become, the less we need Canada's oil. So that's number one. And they say that with Mexico, we've got a $157 billion trade deficit there as well. They import a lot more than we export into their country. Now, our trade deficit with China is somewhere between $400 and $900 billion. I'm going to repeat that. Somewhere between $400 and $900 billion. The crazy thing about this conversation is that the numbers are like all over the place. But again, at the risk of repeating myself, all of these people that are screaming about these tariffs, they have nothing to say about China stealing our technology. They have nothing to say about COVID, by the way. So where was all of this tariff hysteria when China is stealing our intellectual property, when they are hacking into our government or businesses here in America? There's a lot that China needs to be punished for. So we have all of these people that are warning of, this economic Armageddon. But these are the same people that predicted that the markets would crash when Donald Trump was elected the first time. You remember all that because, I was right here with you talking about it.
We have deficits with everybody. We help everybody. We've been helping everybody for years. And to be honest, I don't think they appreciate it. So we're going to change that. We're going to change it fast. We're going to make America great again. We have to focus on our country. We have tremendous potential if properly used, and we have to focus on our country. Tremendous deficits with China, tremendous deficits with the European Union, tremendous deficits with Mexico and Canada. And why? What's the purpose of that? Why would we have deficits?
By the way, realize that the vast majority of Canada and Mexico's exports go to America. But to us, their imports into our country come to very little of the overall percentage that we receive across the country, or I should say across the world. So in other words, their place in our economy is not massive. Although the discussion of energy from Canada is important, but what we get from Canada, what we get from Mexico, very small part of the overall percentage that we get from imports from across the world. And so, really, we have the upper hand. Now, if these countries, if they want access to our market, if they want access to our economy, that's the other thing that Trump has been talking about, then they need to pay up. And so the tariff war has begun. It is 6:15. A lot of people talking about how JD Vance described Trump's tariff war with China and with Mexico and with Canada. He was on with Maria Bartiromo. That amazing audio is coming up next. It is 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads on WTN. 6:15, Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather today, going to be really nice. A high around 70 and sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. By the way, the other thing that you've got to mention about these tariffs is that Trump is getting what he wants. Canada and Mexico are talking. Remember, part of this, and I always say this, there's a good number of, a good part of this that is Donald Trump trying to get Canada and Mexico in a place where they're willing to negotiate. That's also part of Donald Trump's overall plan. And so now we do have the retaliatory tariffs coming from Canada at 25%, Mexico retaliatory tariffs between 5 and 20% on various products. JD Vance was on Fox News, and I loved what he said, because he said that there is a number of reasons why the president is doing this.
We'll see what happens, but I think, unfortunately, the retaliation has already happened. The problem with this whole idea that they're going to retaliate is they have already been taking advantage of America for decades. The retaliation is Donald Trump saying no more. We're not going to be taken advantage of anymore, and I think it's important the president is doing what he's doing. Now, look, it looks different ways and comes in different forms, whether you're talking about Canada or China or Mexico.
Right. I mean, Donald Trump is trying to grow our manufacturing, and he's trying to keep the jobs here. So that's another part of it. And if these countries, again, if they want access to our economy and our people, then for Donald Trump, they got to pay up.
We know that Mexico has allowed the facilitation of the illegal drug trade and illegal sex trafficking for years and has done nothing about it. If they want to be a better partner to us, the time starts now. We know the Chinese, of course, have stolen American manufacturing jobs for 30, 40 years, and also that they facilitated the trafficking of illegal fentanyl into Mexico, where the drug cartels then bring it into our country. We are sick of being taken advantage of. We still have, thank God, the biggest economy in the entire world, the best people and the best workers, but the message from President Trump to the entire world is very clear. We are done being taken advantage of, and we have a president who looks out for the interests of American citizens. Thank God we do, and we're going to try to do it the best we can.
I mean, seriously, think about what China has done to our country. Stole our intellectual property. All that, remember we talked about this yesterday? All that AI that they stole. They've got that whole DeepSeek AI app that they created, that whole AI system that they created, DeepSeek out of China. A lot of that is technology that was stolen from us. They steal our AI and then they integrate it into their own DeepSeek. That's part of the conversation as well. So I love what JD Vance has to say, is that Trump and Vance and conservatives, they're tired of being taken advantage of. It's like, here we are. We have people in our own country that can't find jobs, unemployed, can barely pay the rent, all of the things that we talk about literally every day on Super Talk 99.7. But as Vance says, what about us? What about our country? We spend so much time taking care of all of these other countries while our own people suffer and while our own economy suffers. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've got all the answers on what's going to happen with Donald Trump's tariffs. We don't know. We haven't been in this particular situation before. So we'll have to see if Trump is utilizing this as a negotiating ploy, which I believe is a big part of it. But as JD Vance said, all of that fentanyl being manufactured in China and then coming into Mexico, where it comes across our southern border, and Mexico and China, two peas in a pod on this thing. Now, there's a ton of economists who say this will lead to higher prices here at home, but the bottom line is we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Because, again, we are, relatively speaking, in uncharted territory. Now, our Daily Dan poll is, do you agree with Donald Trump's tariffs? Everybody's got an opinion on this. This is, to me, a great topic and a great discussion because there's a lot of disagreement on this. And so that is our poll question. Do you agree, yes or no? And we also left an undecided. So what are the numbers saying so far, KGB?
86% say yes.
Okay.
6% say no. 8% is undecided. So
there you go. So much for the conversation about there being a lot of disagreement, at least amongst the WTN audience. It is 6:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones has the news coming up. By the way, one of my favorites, EJ Host, is coming up at 6:38. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff with EJ. That's all straight ahead. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, Dan, there's some movement this morning on that the tariffs front from Mexico. We'll tell you what's happening there in the news coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 6:21. Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here with a question for you, friends. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because there have been a lot of people that have not had their full replacement cost covered by their insurance company. What they do is they deduct money for an older roof. So if you've got an older roof that's like 20 years old and it's destroyed, your insurance company may not cover the cost to replace it, because they're going to say, well, look, you had an older roof that was, I don't know, worth a couple $1,000s. That's what you're going to get. Meantime, it's going to cost you many thousands of dollars to replace your roof. And so, listen, if you're with another insurance company and not King & Associates Insurance, then you could be on the hook for thousands of dollars if your roof is destroyed. Because my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they do pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the absolute best insurance companies around. So call them, 615-329-8121, 615-329-8121. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Get your royal review. tkinginsurance.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
627, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Appreciate your listening. I've got to get this audio in. So y'all remember Selena Gomez and how absolutely tone deaf and lame that whole thing was?
You mean Selena, right?
Selena, whatever. Yeah, whatever. However you pronounce it.
Yeah, okay.
I wish she was so important to me that I cared about mispronouncing her name. Selena Gomez. And so Angel Moms have now come out with a video, and I've got this audio. They've now come out with a video explaining, okay, Selena, why didn't you cry for our daughters?
What about our children who were brutally murdered and raped and beat to death?
Just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. Children.
Seeing that video, it's hard to believe that it's actually genuine and real because she's an actress.
You don't know who you're crying for. What about our children who were brutally murdered and raped and beat to death and left on the floor by these illegal immigrants?
I just feel like it's a ruse to deceive people and to garner sympathy for lawlessness.
I wish I could do something, but I can't.
My daughter was a child. There's many other children whose lives were taken due to people who crossed here illegally.
They didn't cry for our daughters.
No one has stood up except for us mothers to cry out about our children.
I am so happy that Trump won. I am so glad that this is one of the first bills to help with immigration.
It's only been 2 weeks, if that, since he's been in office, and he's taking accountability and he's making moves and he's making things happen.
President Trump genuinely cares for the American people, and he cares for the American family.
I truly appreciate everything Donald Trump has done.
We stand with President Trump in making America safe again.
Yep, and you've got Pete Hegseth. He is down at the southern border today, along with some other folks as well. So, very impactful video and some really good questions. Hey, you people on the left. Hey, you people shutting down freeways in Los Angeles. Why did you not cry for their daughters? It is 6:30 News Now with Joan Jones on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, it's 6:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 51 degrees now. We're set up for a gorgeous day ahead. The details are coming up in just a moment. Also, continuing to watch what's happening in Spring Hill this morning on Main Street and Saturn Parkway. Saturn Parkway is closed off between Main Street and Kedron Road while police continue an investigation there. The on-ramp, make that the off-ramp from Main Street to Saturn Parkway, that's closed off as well. A great place to avoid this morning. We'll have more coming up. In the news, the coming tariffs are shaking up pre-market trading on Wall Street this morning, sending futures falling. ABC's Mary Bruce tells us there's some action on the tariffs this morning from Mexico.
Well, President Trump acknowledges that these tariffs may cause some economic pain for Americans, but he says it is worth it to send a message. And first thing this morning, he is expected to speak with the Mexican president and Canadian prime minister as the markets now brace for these tariffs, which could impact everything from the price of cars to groceries. China is also denouncing these Trump tariffs, promising, quote, countermeasures and threatening to take legal action against the U.S. at the World Trade Organization.
Now, the tariffs are set to begin tomorrow. Trump justifies them by blaming Mexico, Canada, and China for trade imbalances and the flow of undocumented migrants, illegal aliens into the U.S., and illegal drugs as well. The effort to cut costs at the federal level will apparently lead to the end of U.S. foreign aid agency USAID. Elon Musk, as head of DOGE, is poised to shut it down.
The reason for that, as opposed to simply, trying to do some minor house cleaning, is that as we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a bowl of worms.
USAID provides foreign aid to other countries. Its mission, it says, is to promote democracy, economic prosperity, and human rights. After passing the school choice bill in the Tennessee state legislature last week, lawmakers are turning their attention now to cell phones in the classrooms.
So we're going to run a bill this year in the General Assembly that, at a bare minimum, a local school district has to have a policy that during instructional time, the students cannot have their cell phones in their hands. They have to be put away somewhere.
That's House Education Subcommittee Chair Scott Sapicki on WTN's Chad Benson show. He says there'll be a penalty for violating that ban. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Second Jones, 632. Dan Mandis here. It is February. Nothing says love like gunpowder and lead, which is what you'll find at the Glock store. Now, listen, it is the month of Valentine's Day, and over at the Glock store, you and your significant other can go get a couple's training session in their Shoot 270 indoor ranges. Now, you book a couple of shooting sessions at shoot270.com, and when you show up, you mention my name, Dan Mandis, and you both get trained for the price of one. It's a couple's shooting session. Again, go to shoot270.com. Remember, this is a private shooting room with a personal instructor, a professional that is going to tailor the session to your current level of shooting expertise. And whatever that level is that you're at, they will up your game. That's what they did for me. They're going to do that for you as well. Now, remember to book your session, 2-for-1 Valentine's date at the Glock store. Book it at shoot270.com. You mentioned my name, Dan Mandis, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. The Glock store, shoot270.com.
Still blocked this morning on Saturn Parkway, the eastbound lanes in Spring Hill between Main Street and Kedron Road. Police are conducting some kind of investigation in that area. Also, Nolensville Pike, north of Old Hickory Boulevard, there's a crash there involving injuries. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.636 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Dan Mandis here, along with KGB, Jeff Malinoff, producing Joan Jones in the dust-encrusted newsroom. And EJ Host is joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. EJ, always great to have you on.
Good morning.
Inquiring minds want to know. I've been asked to ask you a very specific question, which I typically don't do. I don't typically take requests per se. But somebody has told me that I need to ask you about Beyonce's dress at the Grammys last night. We're starting with the hard-hitting news first, EJ.
Hard-hitting news first. Yeah, I got a little traction on an X post last night because I said that her dress looked like it hurt worse than a mammogram. It was very, very tight in the upper region, so much so that it was like disturbing. It looked painful.
I don't know why they dress the way that they do. I mean, I trust me when I say I'm beyond caring about Hollywood and the Hollywood elite and them as they celebrate each other. It's like, whatever. I didn't even know the Grammys were last night until I saw your post, to be perfectly candid. So
listen, I didn't know it until I saw Kanye's wife naked in my timeline over and over and over again.
That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. She had a dress on that was completely see-through. She had nothing on underneath of it.
I don't know why she wasn't arrested for indecent exposure. I know I'm not the first person to say that, but good grief.
You know what the weird thing is? That woman, she was an architect, and if I'm not mistaken, and she was, normal before she started dating Kanye. And then now she's turned into this just weird. I mean, I did see that naked thing that she was wearing or not wearing. And yeah, it actually did look rather bizarre.
You know what was interesting too is my whole timeline is full of like just the most bizarre outfits. I mean, I think these award shows are always like that. I don't watch them, but you can't help but see on social media, everyone's post about them. I mean, pretty much every outfit that is flowing through the timelines right now is pretty racy. Yeah. I mean, just kind of trashy and not attractive. Leave something to the imagination.
Oh, no. Why would we do that? All right, let's talk about stuff that matters. Now, real quick, though, I don't know if you were listening to the previous segment, but angel moms, parents of, kids or adult children who have been killed by illegal aliens, they've now responded to Selena Gomez's crying, stupid video. I call it cry fishing. Some call it sad fishing, whatever. But that completely unbelievable video of Selena Gomez crying, I'm sorry, these are my people, and all this other kind of nonsense. And I think that, people are bringing up a great point. These angel moms are bringing up a great point. Why has no one cried for our kids when it comes to the Hollywood elite and people like Selena Gomez?
Because that doesn't get as many clicks, Dan.
Exactly.
And you said it yourself. She was fishing for engagement. I don't even know if that was legitimate or if she was just, drug or alcohol induced or what. But I think the best thing that we can do with these wahoos is ignore them and just kind of let them fade away into the dusty timelines of social media. Like, just let it go away. There's definitely more important, more exciting things to concern ourselves with, because quite honestly, Selena Gomez, she's a flash in the pan. She's very wealthy. Yes, she's an actress and, lots of people know who she is. But if we give her the attention, then that's exactly what she wanted in the first place. So I would prefer we just kind of move on from her and every other Hollywood wacko that wants nothing but attention from us.
Let's talk about Chuck Schumer and this audio bite.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
So I wonder if the good people of Colorado have anything to say about most of our beer coming from Mexico. I mean, and
Milwaukee and every other really great brewery have in the United States. That's just absurd, isn't it?
Well, it is, and that's right up there with him trying to grill a cheeseburger. Remember that photo?
Right. With a flip a frozen cheeseburger. I said the only thing that would have made it even more funny is if Elizabeth Warren had a beer and was trying to drink it with him, right? Remember that horrible video of her in her kitchen?
Yep.
But it goes to show you it's all about the show. It's all about the props and the show and everything else. And the fact that we're laughing about it today and Democrats are embarrassed by it shows you that their messaging right now is not working. We don't care if the price of avocados from Mexico goes up a little bit, because guess what? California makes really terrific avocados, and I'd rather give the money to California of all places than Mexico. As far as beer goes, obviously that's made all over the US. Everything on the list from Mexico and Canada that people are crying about and posting all over social media about is producible here in the US. Even cars and car parts, that seems to be the big talking point of the day. They can be produced here. In fact, the CEO of Hyundai said that the best antidote to any kind of a trade problem is to just build your cars here in the US. And they've got a plant in Georgia, and they're not alone. We can get all the energy we want right here in America. We can get the avocados, we can get the beer, we can get it all. Don't worry about your maple syrup, everybody. We're gonna be fine.
You know, the thing, and I did mention this earlier, but it does bear repeating, which is two things. EJ Hosta joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Number one is these are the same people that screamed that we would all be selling pencils on a street corner if Donald Trump was voted into office the first time. Clearly, that didn't happen. That's number one. And number two, why don't these same people scream about the $36 trillion in debt that we're in, or trying to service that debt? It's like...
Yeah, that would require them to have some intellectual authority, intelligence, honesty, integrity. They don't. Listen, you know, one thing Trump knows a lot about is steel. And if you remember, during his first administration, he was pretty ticked off that the United States gets ripped off by other countries when it comes to steel production and importing steel. We import a pretty good amount of steel from Mexico. In fact, during the Biden administration, it surged 577%. So the U.S. steel industry is in trouble, and he's trying to bring that back to the United States. So it's not just about the fentanyl coming over from Mexico. It's not about maple syrup and beer from Canada. This is far more reaching, but the headlines, of course, won't include all of the really important data and information that's being sent to reporters and news media organizations all over the country. They are willfully ignoring the press releases and the incredible amount of information that is being sent to the press, to the media, all cited. And I know this because I get these emails every single day. So the headlines and the conversations you're seeing, that's all what Democrats and the radical lefties think will gain attention and somehow win them the argument. In reality, when manufacturing jobs come back, steel jobs come back, the U.S. starts producing its own energy again, this conversation is going to sound really, really silly.
Well, and you're absolutely correct, EJ. And the other thing is that part of what Trump does is he's a negotiator. So automatically, instinctively, and right away, you've got Canada and Mexico calling the president, wanting to have those conversations. So that's also part of the equation here. And you're right. There's a reason why Donald Trump is doing this. It's not because he's a dictator and all of these other things. And, you know, the Daily Dan poll on YouTube, if you want to watch us on YouTube, you can take the poll. Vast majority of folks that are watching us, WTN listeners, they agree with these tariffs. If there's going to be a short-term pain for long-term gain, then that's a good thing. EJ, hold on one sec. Coming up, EJ, I want to ask you about this comment from Jake Tapper to Virginia's Tim Kaine, Senator.
Why is your party so staggeringly unpopular with the public?
I mean, one of the highlights of my weekend. Details with EJ coming up. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN.
Nolensville Pike, we've got an accident north of Old Hickory Boulevard with emergency crews on the scene. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Thank you, Christy. 6:46. Our weather today, a nice high of 70 degrees under sunny skies. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. So you've got Tim Kaine, and he is on with Jake Tapper. And I think Tapper just hit him right between the eyes.
Why is your party so staggeringly unpopular with the public?
And he was talking about the Quinnipiac poll that came out. There's a couple of other polls as well that show that the Democrat Party is just, as Jake Tapper said, staggeringly unpopular. EJ,
Yeah,
I've got to ask you this question real quick. Did you see the MSNBC, their live broadcast as the Democrats were trying to choose the head of the DNC and these vice chairs and everything? It was like the woke Olympics.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly where I was going. They have no messaging. They're wildly unpopular because they're not listening to the people. They're not listening to the American people who are done with the nonsensical, right? We're done with everybody calls it woke, but really it's silliness. We're done with the era of silliness. We're ready now to be the adults in the room. We are ready to kind of take control and tell the children, all right, we've let you get out of hand. You had too much sugar. It's time to sit down now and relax.
Yeah.
You know, it's time to go ahead and take the pill. Like, you're going to have to just take this pill of loss, deal with it, and maybe come on board. You know, I keep saying, wouldn't it be nice if they just gave it a chance? We've been doing it their way for decades, like 100 years, man. It's not working, obviously. We're more divided than ever. You know, they're more angry. I wake up every day happy as a clam. I just love it. I can't wait to see what new thing is happening that I missed while I dared sleep for 6 hours, you know?
Yeah.
But they're angry. And when you're angry and you're in disarray and you just don't know how to lose, you come off as sounding like a lunatic.
And I
that's
think
what they got going right now.
You're right. And I want to play one more example real quick where, again, they're trying to figure out who the next chairperson will be. And you had this moment where one person decided that they would break out in song.
Why is your party?
And that's not it. It is this one here.
And we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days.
Okay.
You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on.
And people are like, what?
Your government is doing you wrong. You fight on, oh, you fight on.
People are like, okay, golf clap. But, you know, EJ, that is a perfect example where adults don't do that.
Right. I mean, really, you're right. They're acting like children. The other thing was, you know, David Hogg, the Parkland kid from Florida, who, you know, just has capitalized on a horrible tragedy. Really shameful. And he just says the most wacky things. But, you know, he's still a kid. He's not grown up from high school. And it dawned on me yesterday when I was watching that and a couple of other things over the weekend where they had to vote for something with diversity because they had already voted for a bunch of white guys or something. I mean, it's all just silliness. It doesn't make any sense. Vote for meritocracy. That's what happened in November. A vote for the adults in the room. That's what happened in November.
Well,
You've got the children running the Democrat Party right
And
now.
here's the funny thing. You have, and I've got all this audio that I'll maybe play in the 7 o'clock hour, but they have all these black folks up there and they're and particularly black women who are demanding that people vote for them. In the end, the Party of Diversity, Inequity, and Inclusion decided that a white male would lead the Democrat Party.
Yeah, and listen, you ignore Ken Martin. Remember, he's from Minnesota. I escaped from Minnesota Stan. I'm a political refugee from that state. And if you don't know what an organizer he is, in my opinion, I'm not making an accusation, but in my opinion, he looks a lot like a money launderer. Given the Democrat Party and Act Blue and how they make their money and how their candidates get it. But he's a good organizer. He does know how to win elections. And so we should be a little timid when it comes to him running the DNC because he will get their messaging under control and he'll do good things for them, bad things for us.
Yes, and that obviously is something of concern. Do you think as we wrap this up, I've got like 30 seconds left, EJ. So the big question is, are the Republicans prepared to defend the House of Representatives in 2026?
Not yet.
Okay.
I think they're riding a high, and we need to get into the campaign mode a little bit. And there are some people that need to go. And that could cause a rift within the party, you know, rhinos and such that aren't doing the things that we want them to do.
All right.
That's always difficult.
EJ, you said you had a bunch of spicy pictures on your X feed, and people are begging me. Okay, so where do we find EJ? She's got interesting content up there. Where can we find her?
I'm not posting them. I'm not posting the pictures.
Okay, fair enough.
Stance, but you can definitely find them. I am at EJ under the radar on X.
All right, EJ, thank you very much. Always great to have you on. It is 6:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 7. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, police are hoping to get some help from surveillance cameras after a shooting in Clarksville last night. And why the ACLU wants to sue over the immigration bill that was just passed by lawmakers in Tennessee last week. Those stories coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 6:53 on Super Talk. Dan Mandis here. You know, when I first started thinking about lens replacement to treat my cataracts, I was nervous. I had all kinds of concerns running through my head. Was it painful? How long is the downtime? I've also heard a lot of myths, like you'll still need glasses or the results are not permanent. But during my consultation with Dr. Horn at Vision for Life, he took the time. I was actually amazed. He took the time to answer all my questions, addressing not only the common myths, but also my fears. Now, he explained that it is a quick 5-minute procedure. I just went through it with my left eye, and I'm going to go through my surgery procedure with the right eye coming up on Wednesday. And I got to tell you that I am shocked at the results in my left eye where I just had the procedure. I can see 20/20. It is great. And I believe that I've actually worn glasses for the last time. I am so excited to be able to go in now. No nerves, no worry. I am so excited to go in and get my right eye done on Wednesday. Really looking forward to that. I'm a big-time Dr. Horn and Vision for Life advocate. Now, most patients, including me, feel little to no discomfort. Recovery times are really fast, and many people permanently achieve near-perfect vision without glasses. Now, what stood out to me was the personalized care that Dr. Horn provided. He tailored a plan specific to my needs and my goals. He walked me through the lens options and how they could help me not just restore my vision, but also my quality of life. So if you've been putting off cataract surgery, don't. Trust me and trust my guy, Dr. Horn at Vision for Life. Call them at 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020. Find them online, visionforlife.com. 6:57. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Take the Daily Dan poll. It is up right now. Watch us on YouTube. Are we only functioning right now still only on YouTube?
Unfortunately, yes.
All right. So we've got some problems with the stream on some of the other apps. So you cannot see us on X today. You can't see us on Facebook. I'm not sure about 997WTN.com. But you know what, Joan? Conveniently, my place to watch all things WTN is YouTube. So go to YouTube, watch the radio show, and also take the Daily Dan poll. Do you agree with Donald Trump's tariffs? Yes, no, or I don't know. And last time we checked, it was a landslide. Folks agreed that it was a good idea, Donald Trump's tariffs. What's the latest polling now, KGB? On the Daily Dan
Well,
poll?
it's still a landslide. It's now 85% yes.
Wow.
No is 4%. Undecided is 10%.
Okay. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour at 7:06, we're going to speak to James Carafano from the Heritage Foundation. There's a number of things that I want to speak to him about. A big story over the weekend about Iran as they're manufacturing, apparently, rockets, and you can put nuclear weapons on those rockets, and they could hit Israel. They could hit parts of Europe as well. So that's a big story because, of course, nobody wants Iran to have nuclear weapons. That's number one. Number two, Donald Trump takes out ISIS in Somalia. That also is a very big topic of conversation that I'm going to speak with James Carafano on, and also what is going on with mass deportation and the southern border. It is all straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News for a Monday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 7 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Couple of traffic stories to begin with here this morning. It is still closed on Saturn Parkway in Spring Hill. Eastbound lanes between Main Street and Kedron Road. It's a police investigation in that area. They're saying use Buckner Road as the alternate to 65. Also, I-440, the westbound lanes at I-65 exit 5. The right shoulder is blocked off. It's causing a huge backup this morning and stop and go from exit 7 up to exit 5. We've got more in traffic in just a moment. In the news, a couple of shootings that took place last night, one in East Nashville at a gas station. This is just before 10 o'clock at the Z-Mart convenience store on Dickerson Pike. Two men reportedly got into a fight. One of them fired a gun at the other, killing him. The shooter ran away from the scene, but Metro Police believe they do know who he is, and they say they'll have him under arrest soon. The other shooting in Clarksville, police say a 15-year-old shot while sitting in the passenger seat of a vehicle at Chum's Discount Tobacco Store on Preacher's Mill Road. That team was taken to Tennova Healthcare. And police are hoping surveillance video from nearby residents will help in their investigation. The ACLU is set to sue over the part of the Tennessee immigration bill that just passed that would make it a felony for elected officials to vote to create sanctuary cities. House Majority Leader William Lamberth
is that there's not a single elected official out there that would even risk prosecution under something like this. Our ask to them and our requirement of them: do not set up sanctuary policies within the state. Do not set up sanctuary cities in this state. Period. We're simply not going to tolerate it.
Lambert saying violators would land in prison for 6 years. President Trump said, yes, Americans could feel some pain after tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China begin tomorrow.
Stock futures tumbling and oil prices rising after President Trump made good on threats to impose tariffs on key trading partners.
We have deficits with almost every country, not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair.
Trump announcing 25% tariffs on some goods from Canada and Mexico and 10% tariffs on some Chinese goods. The tariffs are set to begin tomorrow. Trump justifies them by blaming Mexico, Canada, and China for trade imbalances.
ABC's Andrew Dimbert there, who also says that Trump blames the flow of illegal immigrants and drugs into the country. 3 people from Chicago are sitting in the Wilson County Jail this morning after police found $7,000 worth of sporting goods from Dick's in their car. It had been stolen. Police stopped the driver for failing to use a turn signal as that car turned into the parking lot of Academy Sports in Mount Juliet. They believe that group was about to steal more sporting items from Academy. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures slumping this morning over the trade tariffs. Dow futures are down 673. NASDAQ futures are minus 412. The S&P futures slumping 104 points. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Spring Hill, the Saturn Parkway eastbound lane still closed off. Main Street and Kedron Road in between those two by police who are investigating in that area. Berry Hill, it's an accident 440. The westbound lane's at I-65, blocking off the right shoulder there. Jolton, 24, eastbound past Whites Creek Pike. There's an accident. And another one this morning in Glen Cliff. I-40 westbound before Spence Lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.706, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Welcome on in to your Monday, February 3rd. Hope you're doing well. James Carafano joins us, foreign policy military analyst with the Heritage Foundation. James, always great to have you on. Headlines over the weekend, Iran has been, they say secretly, I think we all know what they're up to, but secretly creating a nuclear weapon that could reach Europe with an 1,800-mile radius. They say that these missiles could reach their enemy, Israel, as well. James, did you see this report over the weekend, and what do you think?
So I've always maintained that we are at the point where Iran becoming a established nuclear power is not a technical issue, it is a political issue. Iran will declare themselves a nuclear state when they think they can get the maximum benefit from it. I actually thought they might do it while Biden was still in office, because Biden would have done nothing. So, and I got to add this, which I think is really important. and this is a lesson learned from Ukraine, where we saw the Russians attack Ukraine with missiles and drones and the whole range of weapons aimed at their infrastructure and population center. Lots of people have the capability to do this now. And so whether you're in Europe or the Middle East or even here in the United States, you need to get much more seriously about defending your own airspace from everything from small drones up to ballistic missiles. That's the reality of the modern world in which we live.
President Trump has talked about an Iron Dome, and similar to the one that Israel has. Of course, the United States is far larger than Israel. So based on what you just said, what do you think about President Trump and talking about building the same kind of Iron Dome that Israel has?
I think we're going to have to get into the cruise missile drone defense business the way we've already been in the ballistic missile defense business. And for folks who don't understand this, it's range and trajectory. So ballistic missiles have the longest range. They also have the most they have difficult trajectory to deal with because they actually go up in outer space and come back down. Cruise missiles fly very flat, a lot slower. You have hypersonic missiles, which fly flat and a lot faster. Then you have drones, which can go from a few feet up to 100 feet and be very small, or carry payloads up to, as we've seen in Ukraine, 200-pound bombs. So it's a very sophisticated threat. Part of the reason why the president's put so much emphasis on Canada and Greenland is you want to push back the space where guys can launch things at you from. So this gets really super geeky, right? The most stable environment to not have somebody attack you is what's called an offense-defense mix, which means you have the capability to smack them in the face if they get rowdy, but you also have the capability to block a blow if they come at you. And so if you want to live in a stable world, it is conventional deterrence, which is, armies, tanks, Marines, strategic deterrence, which is nuclear weapons, and it's the capacity to counter against the enemy's attack on you, whether they're cyber attacks, missile attacks, or physical invasion.
They say that the weapon design system that Iran is using were actually created by North Korea. Kind of brings to mind the whole discussion of the axis of evil from way back in the George W. Bush days.
Right.
So it's like you just said, so these countries, they have a lot of partnerships and they have the ability to do this. So we just simply need to be able to protect ourselves. So do you think that Iran currently does have nuclear weapons, or how close are they?
I think that they have the technical and physical capacity to build a nuclear weapon anytime they want.
Okay.
Now,
and yeah,
I don't know if they have or they haven't, but
because they're very secretive. And now the big question is, and there's some people, I think you and I may have spoken about this before, there are some people that say, okay, well then what we need to do is we need to take a preventive attack and take out their launching systems. But I don't know if that is the right way to go, because a lot of people would say, well, that's basically a declaration of war on Iran.
So first of all, so people understand there's three things that you need to be a nuclear threat. One is you need, and which is actually the hardest, which is the nuclear fuel with uranium or plutonium, which is pure enough that you could actually create a nuclear explosion. And sadly, and this started under Barack Obama, we actually gave permission, stupidly, to the Iranians to process their own nuclear fuel. That's what got us in this situation. The second thing is you need to build a bomb, right, around the nuclear fuel.
Yep.
And then the third is you need to have the missile that can reach, or delivery system that can reach the target. We know for a fact, indisputable, that they already have the missiles. We know for a fact, indisputable, that they have the designs on how to build a bomb. We know that. And they and we actually know from the data that we have that they have the capacity and capability to build sufficient nuclear fuel to make a weapon. So that's kind of there. I'm not a big fan of preemptive warfare. That's not who we are. We defend ourselves. Now, there's a difference between preventive warfare and preemptive active self-defense called anticipatory self-defense, which is if a guy's coming at you with a baseball bat, you don't have to wait till he hits you with the bat, smack him in the face. So, but that's different from saying, oh, I don't like that guy. He may come after me someday. I'm just going to hit him in the face now. I don't think that's the way to go. Right now, I think the answer to deal with the Iranian nuclear threat is to make these guys feel so threatened that they're terrified and afraid of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things here. And, of course, we all don't want to go back in the history of the Iranian nuclear deal. But that was a lot of people say that was a terrible deal for a number of different reasons. But the bottom line is President Trump right now, you know that Iran has a lot of problems, especially when it comes to their economy. Their economy is spiraling. Some are talking about how Hamas and Hezbollah, they've been crippled. You have an emboldened Israel right now who attacked their territory last year. And so it does seem to me that there's a number of things that President Trump needs to do, especially when it comes to their economy, and that is get more aggressive on sanctions.
So squeeze them really hard, because what we've traditionally seen is when the Iranian regime feels threatened, they actually get more conservative and more risk averse. And then what you want to do is build up the coalition between the Arabs and the Israelis so they work together in trust and confidence, and they have sufficient capacity and capability so they prevent a real conventional deterrent against the expansion of Iran or their surrogates. And then you have the U.S. nuclear umbrella over that. That's a really stable environment. I don't like wars. You know, I just, a war is a great leap into the dark. Even if you think you're going to win and everything else, you have to deal with the aftermath. They hardly solve anything. So I like people to know that if they try to start a war with me, they're going to not have a very good day. It's the whole idea of peace through strength, but actually fighting wars if you don't have to, not a good idea.
7:15, Nashville's Morning News. James Carafano is joining us. James, a couple of other things I want to speak to you about after the traffic. President Donald Trump taking out some ISIS terrorists living in Somalian caves, and Israeli hostages being released as well. Going to talk about that, including an Israeli American. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. 7:15, time to check the roads on WTN.
Hill 440 westbound at 65. Accident's been moved to the shoulder. Glencliff 40 westbound before Spence Lane at 52 degrees. Spring Hill Saturn Parkway closed eastbound between Main Street and Ketron Road for an accident investigation. I'm Christy O'Brien. Sunny
today, weather high of around 70. Right now, 52 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, yeah, it was big news, a victory. President Trump taking out some ISIS terrorists apparently living in some Somalian caves. What do we know about this particular group and ISIS generally speaking?
Well, this actually is a really positive sign from the president that he takes combating terrorism really seriously. And when you think of all the things that he has going on, the fact that he took enough attention to identify an emergent threat and take it out. So it's the same ISIS that he dealt with during the first term that metastasized in Iran after President Obama pulled the troops out of Iraq, and you had Iraq and Syria, huge ISIS caliphate, and then Trump crushed it. These guys are still peppered around the region. There's some in Afghanistan, actually fighting against the Taliban. They're in Somalia, Sahel, and some other places. So what you see here, I know this is kind of hard for people to wrap their heads around because you don't follow this stuff day to day, but what you see here is getting it right. The wrong way was kind of the Clinton-Obama way, which is ignore it and hope it goes away. And it metastasizes and becomes a huge problem for you, whether it was 9/11 or the caliphate that blew up under Obama. The other way is the Bush way was wrong because essentially he tried to solve the world's problems and exterminate all the terrorists. And that's just completely unrealistic and overreach and really not necessary. I don't want to sound crude here, but it's more like mowing the grass. Right? You're never going to get rid of all the weeds. You're never going to get the grass from growing, but you mow the grass occasionally, keep things under control. And strikes like this against people that were probably planning not just terrorist attacks in Somalia, but trying to coordinate activities that would impact the U.S. and its allies worldwide. You got to clean that stuff up.
And it sends a message to not only ISIS but Al Qaeda and generally speaking, the terrorists across the world. In other news, James Carafano joining us We're seeing Israeli hostages being released, of course. Israeli-American Keith Siegel was released. Hamas is getting their prisoners released. And obviously, and James, you and I have spoken about this before, NBC News reporting 18 hostages have been released by Hamas. In exchange, you've got 583 Palestinian prisoners. Now, I know that this is a complicated question and answer, but who is winning in these negotiations?
Well, look, they always do this. I mean, you can like it, not like it, doesn't matter. The Israelis will always trade people to get their people back. They can always kill these guys later. I mean, it's just crude, but just very honest.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it, and they're doing it. And I'm guessing that this game's just about over because I think we all know that there probably aren't many more live people to be returned that were in the tens, and this will play out. But I think it will play out because I think Hamas will not risk holding on to hostages in the end and raising the ire of Trump once again. So this will play out. We'll move on to the next phase of the future, which is we try to figure out how these guys can live together in the region. And the problem, the tragedy of this is I don't want to say it's all our fault, but Trump had this under control. It was unbelievably stable, and the leadership in Gaza and the West Bank was completely marginalized. And the Arab world was moving on with its life. And then Joe Biden came in and said, well, we don't need to do any of that. And it just blew up in our face. It's so tragic. None of these people had to die.
You're absolutely right, James Carafano. Last question. President Trump's mass deportation, of course, continues. You know all about that. He's opening up Gitmo to house these bad guys. And were you surprised that he decided to do that?
I think it's freaking brilliant. Because I got to tell you, if you are one of these guys, that's the last place you want to go. And they will self-deport first.
Yeah.
And so no matter how many guys we send there, way more will just leave the country just not to face that risk. So I think it's a brilliant move. And by the way, it's perfectly legal. It's perfectly appropriate. We've always had migrant detention centers at Gitmo to handle if another Cuban boat lift or something else. So I've seen these facilities. It's absolutely totally the right thing to do.
James Carafano, I always love your analysis. Thank you very much for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And he's absolutely right about how the horrific terrorist attack on Israel did not have to happen. And when Donald Trump says that never would have happened if I was in office, he's not just, bloviating. I mean, the man is speaking the truth about that. You've got, and James had to go, but, you've got Biden who comes in, and I know that you folks that listen all the time, I know that you know this, but Biden comes in and he completely ignores the sanctions that Trump had placed on Iran. So all of a sudden, Iran gets infusion of billions and billions of dollars, and they are then able to fund Hamas and Hezbollah. And then we saw what we saw as Hamas attacks Israel, and that is where we are now with these hostages being released. And so hopefully President Trump can get that region back under control. I think that he's off to a really good start with taking out the terrorists in Somalia, and I believe that he's going to continue down that path. It is 7:21 on Nashville's Morning News. Hey, coming up, an update on Congressman Andy Ogles. You know that the FBI has been going after him big time. We do have an Andy Ogles update and a whole lot more audio that you have to hear, as well as the DNC. They've been, of course, as you know, trying to pick a leader. We're speaking with EJ Host about this. The audio is just funny. I'm just going to tell you, it is funny. And it's Monday, and so you might be in a bad mood. You want to stick around for this audio because it is absolutely hysterical as these deranged Democrats still haven't learned anything. It is 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 7:30. Hey, Joan.
Hey, Dan. We'll tell you what's behind that panic at Opry Mills Mall on Saturday. Also, Nashville's getting ready to sue the state legislature over one component of that immigration law that was passed last week. Those stories coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. And somebody asked me the other day, Dan Mandis here, by the way, do you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? It is way more than I thought. Now, I actually went home myself and I counted how many connected devices I own. And it is way more than a dozen. It's actually about 18. All to keep me connected to the good stuff. My streaming, my show prep, my shows from home, Riker's gaming, of course, Amy works at home as well. All my interneting, you name it, Xfinity can handle it. Now, Xfinity knows that the number of devices we have connected to our internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds. Seriously. And now through March 23rd, get Xfinity Gigabit Internet for $25 a month for 1 year with a 2-year contract, and Wi-Fi equipment is included when you add an unlimited mobile line. Only Xfinity delivers gig speed to the most homes. Find them online, xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store to switch today. Restrictions apply, not available in all areas, requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. Taxes and fees extra after 12 months. Regular rates apply to mobile service, and internet rate increases to $65. After 24 months, regular rates apply. Xfinity internet required. Reduced mobile speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Data thresholds and actual internet speeds vary.
Good morning. It's now 7:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. They're still working it this morning. Saturn Parkway eastbound in Spring Hill between Main Street and Kedron Road still closed off by that police investigation this morning. It's been there for a little over an hour. We're expecting it to continue for a while. A crush of shoppers ran panicked away from Opry Mills Mall on Saturday afternoon after a fight broke out between a couple at Chili's restaurant. That fight spilled outside. The mall security guards followed them with guns drawn. This man tells News 2 this was happening as he and his family were sitting at the food court.
2 mall security guards came in again from that entrance and started telling everyone to get the heck out of the mall. So we collected everybody we were with and got out, and then saw the parade of police and everything coming in.
Now, there were rumors that there had been shots fired, but police say there is no evidence that there was a shooting. Nashville is considering a lawsuit that would block the illegal immigration bill just passed in the special session of the General Assembly that included making it a felony for any elected official to vote to create sanctuary cities or policies. Metro Legal Director Wally Dietz.
It is unprecedented, and it's a totally different situation, and also the threat of removing from office for a legislative vote.
The ACLU is lining up against that bill, too. Governor Lee has yet to sign it. President Trump's tariffs on goods from China, make that Canada, Mexico, and China, were imposed over the weekend. Now legacy media companies are pushing the narrative that it will also lead to higher prices for Americans. Now, President Trump says that may be true, but just in the short term.
Administration acknowledges there might be some short-term pain, but their argument is this will incentivize companies to boost their manufacturing in the U.S., to encourage more domestic manufacturing, which would in turn create American jobs. The idea being if companies in the U.S. have to pay more to bring stuff from other countries, then why not just build factories here and lower those costs?
Now, President Trump, that's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze. By the way, President Trump is set to have discussions with Canada's and Mexico's leaders today. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 7:32, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They're keeping you warm this winter with some great deals for listeners to Nashville's Morning News. You can get a free air duct cleaning when you buy a new complete whole home AC. How about a free air duct cleaning package upgrade? You buy the middle package, you are automatically upgraded to the deluxe, or a free furnace checkup with any heating repair service and 15% off of indoor air quality products. The point being, they've got a ton of ways to save you money at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They are your Rude Pro partner. So many ways to save with Busy Bee. They are trying to save you money. Now, I've been a Beehive member for years. I think it's over 10. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, a great company with their more than satisfied promise. Call them to get started today. Always tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-775-7833. By the way, this coming Saturday, I'm going to be out at the Southern Home and Garden Show at the Farm Bureau Expo Center in Lebanon. It's a Wilson County home show, basically. I'm going to be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Busy Bee booth. So come on out and say hello. I'll be there with Chad Benson. Busy Bee, HVAC.com.
Got that closure, Spring Hill at Saturn Parkway eastbound between Main Street and Kedron Road because of a crash investigation with police closing off that stretch of roadway. Joelton, eastbound 24, there's an accident past White's Creek Pike. Also one in Rural Hill at Bell Road and Zelita Avenue. Laverne, a crash at Firestone Parkway and Heil Quaker Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Pick a Jones, 735. Dan Mandis here. Great audio from the DNC as they search for a leader. That is coming up next. And I want to tell you about my vision because, as you know, it's been getting worse for years. And I knew that I needed to make a change deciding as to where to go for vision correction. It can be an incredibly complicated decision, and it does take research. Now, I started asking around here at the station, looking online, and one name did keep coming up, and that is Dr. Horn at Vision for Life. Now, their reviews are incredible, with many people sharing life-changing stories about their procedures. Now, I'm one of those that does indeed have a life-changing story. Now, Dr. Horn has been selected by his peers as one of the best physicians, one of the best eye surgeons, and one of the top 250 premier cataract surgeons here in America. Now, most recently, he was voted Nashville's best ophthalmologist after learning this and discussing lens replacement with Dr. Horn. I did know that I had to take the leap. Now, you know that last week I had my left eye done. This week on Wednesday, it is my right eye that we're going to fix the cataracts. And I got to tell you that my left eye, I've got 20/20 vision. I had 20/20 vision after literally 24 hours after the procedure in my left eye. So I cannot wait for Wednesday to get my right eye done. So stay tuned. I'll be sharing my continuing vision correction journey with you every step of the way. Now, if you're suffering from vision issues as well, I recommend calling Vision for Life and Dr. Horn, 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020. You can always find them online, visionforlife.com. .38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, there is a lot going on. And one of the things that I find fascinating about politics today is that there seems to be clearly a lack of ability from the people on the left to understand exactly what in the world happened to them back in November. So Jake Tapper asked Tim Kaine, who is the Democrat senator from Virginia.
Why is your party so staggeringly unpopular with the public?
All right, so that's an ouch moment, clearly. And what Tapper was referencing was this new Quinnipiac poll that shows that after the Republicans took the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, the Democrats, they're still having a tough time figuring out what happened.
A Quinnipiac poll, 57% of the American people have an unfavorable view of the Democratic Party, only 31% favorable. This is the worst number for the Democratic Party since Quinnipiac University began asking the question, and it's not an outlier. A recent CNN poll found a 33-year low favorable rating with the Democratic Party. Why is your party so staggeringly unpopular with the public?
That's kind of a funny way for Jake Tapper to express that.
Of all people. You're absolutely right.
It's just basically saying, you suck. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jake Tapper's not usually, he's usually much more measured with people on the left.
Do you know why he is asking the question in that way? The reason he's asking the question that way is because he's a leftist. And so his own party got just demolished in November.
Yeah.
And so he's ticked off, like a lot of progressives are. He's ticked off because his party lost. And so he's actually trying to hold them accountable, not because he's trying to be a good journalist, but because his party is not the party in power. So I think that's part of it. But the Democrats, they've got no leader. They've got no real presidential possibilities in 2028. As of now, anyway, Josh Shapiro really is the only guy. And who knows what's going to happen in 2026. Odds are Republicans will easily keep the Senate. Republicans are right now targeting 13 House members who are Democrats in districts that Donald Trump carried. So House Republicans are working hard to get more of a majority in 2026. We'll have to see. But did you see the headline from over the weekend? This is from the New York Times. We have no coherent message. Democrats struggle to oppose Donald Trump. More than 50 interviews with Democratic leaders revealed a party struggling to decide what it believes in, what issues to prioritize, and how to confront an aggressive right-wing administration. I think they realize that they literally have done everything wrong, and they continue to do so. So for those of you worried that the Democrats are going to be refocused and re-energized and ready for the midterms in 2026 and fired up for the presidential election of 2028, I don't think we really have anything to worry about, because it is clear that they are as confused as ever.
Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced.
So that is part of a hysterical 2-minute and 40-second video that went viral over the weekend, where the Democrats, they're on some sort of a retreat, and they're trying to choose leadership roles. This is from the Daily Mail. The vote to elect Minnesota Democratic Party leader Ken Martin as chair turned into a showcase of ideological purity tests, virtue signaling, and moments that critics have blasted as beyond parody. I mean, you heard me play that audio. Former DNC chair Jamie Harrison announced that the party's leadership elections had to be conducted in a manner that ensured precise gender representation, with non-binary candidates included in the equation.
To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules.
Okay. So you hear all of that. It's about identity politics and nothing to do with a person's actual qualifications. And this is exactly what got them in trouble in the first place.
In order to be gender balanced, we must elect one male, one female, and one person of any gender.
So you realize even this guy who was trying to explain it to all of these radical progressives, even he got confused in all this.
I want him to go off mic a bit, go like, were we serious about this? We sure we were doing this?
Oh, no,
okay.
they're all on board with this idiocy. Now, you might be wondering exactly what is a one person of any gender. Well, I don't speak stupidese like the progressives do, so I actually did have to look that up. What is one person of any gender, according to the progressives? I've got that for you and a whole lot more straight ahead. That Andy Ogles update, his battles with the FBI, also coming up, an update on that story. 7:45, time to check the roads on WTN.
Shoulder and Brentwood, 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard South. We've got an accident on the left shoulder. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Weather today, a high of 70 degrees. Going to be sunny as well, and right now 52 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So what is this one person of any gender? I had to look it up. Refers to an individual regardless of their gender identity. This phrase is used to emphasize inclusivity, acknowledging that the person in question could be male, female, non-binary, or any gender identity. It is a way, they say, to ensure that language does not exclude people based on their gender, and they do include a breakdown. one person specifically refers to a single individual of any gender, indicates that the gender of this person is not specified or restricted, promoting inclusivity. Did y'all get all that? Because I didn't.
Can you say that again? I lost halfway through.
No, that's okay. I'll spare. I'm going to spare myself and everybody else. But here's the deal, and we spoke to EJ Host about this earlier. Why not just pick the person best for the job, regardless of any of that other crap? And so the DNC is trying to figure out who their next chairperson will be, among other things, the vice chairs and the same thing. So with all of the wokeisms and the buzzwords and the insanity, you had this moment where one person who wants to be the chair breaks out into song.
And we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on.
Now, the funny thing is, there's also video of her singing earlier in the day. It's like, does she sing all of her speeches?
Is doing you wrong.
And I don't think she's very good.
Fight on, oh, you fight on.
I mean,
you can hear the puppy screaming right now, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hathaway.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. and so most people who are watching this online are making the comment that these are not serious people. And here's the deal. I'm all for it. I mean, if they want to keep doing this nonsense, you go right on ahead. Bizarre speech after bizarre speech, bizarre moment after bizarre moment. Every speech was about race. It was all about DEI. It was all about stolen land. And they just kept going.
Hey, I am speaking, and I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes, I am speaking.
So I guess, is that a reference to Kamala Harris? Because remember the whole Kamala Harris thing where she said, I'm speaking. Ah, that triggered me.
Hey, I am speaking, and I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes, I am speaking.
Actually, just so we're clear, black, white, red, green, yellow, blue, nobody deserves attention. You have to grab people's attention. You have to make people acknowledge you by how serious you are as a candidate and about your ideas. You don't deserve somebody's attention just because you're a black female and you demand it. That's not how the real world works. Perhaps it is in the Democrat Party, but not in the real world. And then there was this moment where they called Americans who voted for Donald Trump racist and sexist.
I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
All hands go up.
Okay. That's good. You all pass.
Ending with the maniacal laughter. So as MSNBC was apparently broadcasting this thing live as the DNC was trying to vote in all their leadership roles, it really was. I mean, this was truly a woke circus of buzzwords, charged racial speeches, and all the usual stuff that we saw during the presidential race.
Good evening, Democrats. Look up here. 3 strong black women standing before you. 3 black women who, rather than just grabbing a chair, ran for
Te
chair.
quiero mucho, Papa. Gracias por todo. My name is Artie Blanco. Vote for me for vice chair.
We're in a time in this country when our democracy and our rights are under attack. We're at a time where black and brown people, women, and other minorities are being blamed for everything that's wrong with this country.
So, I mean, just all the, I could do an entire segment on disproving and debunking all of that complete utter BS. But the ironic thing is that with all of this gender and racial insanity, they decided in the end to vote for a white guy, Ken Martin, the guy that came in second. Also a white guy by the name of, I guess, is Ben Wickler, former governor, I guess, from Maryland, Martin O'Malley, came in third, also a white guy. So with all of that, the top three contenders were white guys. And most people who are sane and actual political analysts are telling you that it is just this kind of behavior that is going to continue to destroy the Democrat Party. And you know what? That's a good thing. That is a good thing. 750 on Nashville's Morning News. Although we were talking to EJ Host earlier, she is familiar with the new head of the DNC, and apparently he is a force to be reckoned with. So we'll continue to monitor those developments. 7:51, and Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom with the news at 8.
Yeah, Dan, he's 19 years old, was arrested for driving over 120 miles per hour over the weekend. We've got that story coming up for you this morning. Also, new information about the plane crash in Philadelphia. That's coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Joan. Coming up, an Andy Ogles update as he continues to battle the FBI. Dan Mandis here for USS, United Structural Systems. You know, we've had a lot of rain. We've had some snow as well. You've got to make sure that your basement and your crawl space is free from water leaks. You want to keep that water outside and not inside your home. You know, the tiniest of leaks in your basement with the rain and the snow, it could end up in your home and cause all kinds of issues. You need to make sure that your home is waterproofed with my friends at United Structural Systems. I've been a client of theirs for years, friends. They've done all kinds of work for me. Now, what if your pipes burst? If that water remains unseen, it actually can turn into even bigger problems like mold and wood rot and the need for structural repair. Now, if you want to stay ahead of water damage, call my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. They've got over 30 years of experience in basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. USS inspections are absolutely free, and they're not going to sell you any unnecessary repairs. They are simply here to help. We guarantee our best. Call USS at 615-488-7855. As always, tell him Dan Mandis showed to reach out. 615-488-7855. Online anytime. USSTN.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. All right, so the long-awaited Andy Ogles update. No, this has nothing to do with the third term from Donald Trump. Apparently, what they're looking to do, there is now a prediction that they are going to drop that investigation into Andy Ogles. And I don't want to get into all the details. We've talked about it. We've spoken about it 1,000 times. But the headline from Channel 5 and from a bunch of other places as well is that it does look like now the FBI, they are going to drop that investigation into Andy Ogles. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, well, it's because he's kissing butt to Donald Trump. He filed that legislation to allow him to have a third term in office. And so now Trump is demanding that the DOJ drop the charges or the investigation into Andy Ogles. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't know. But that's what some folks will say. That is what some in the media, that's how they're slanting it. And the thing that I would ask is it possible, is it just possible that after all this time, it turns out that this whole investigation into Congressman Ogles is actually nothing? Now, one of the other things that some of the members of the media, some of the journalists are saying is, well, you know, he's got those high-powered attorneys, and the high-powered attorneys are trying to protect the congressman for the 5th Congressional District. Well, you know, I thought that was interesting, and I've said this before. But why should he, and I would ask this question directly to Channel 5 and Phil Williams, because they had an entire piece on Andy Ogles and how his high-powered attorneys were trying to sort of keep the investigation at bay. Please tell me, in what world do you believe that anybody should lay down for the FBI? I'll wait. Why should anybody lay down for the FBI and not fight to the death their innocence if they believe that they're innocent? Why shouldn't he do anything and everything possible to defend himself? I don't have any problems with high-powered attorneys. I don't seem to recall any of these people on the left having a problem with the Department of Justice using their high-powered attorneys against Donald Trump. Didn't see anybody talking about that aspect of it. No, they didn't. Now, I've been critical of Congressman Ogles over a number of different things, and he appears on the show all the time because he and I can agree to disagree on some things, whatever. But this whole notion that, number one, well, Donald Trump is doing what he can to protect his own. Nobody, doesn't even cross anybody's mind that maybe after all of this time, because this investigation has been going on for, I think it's been a couple of years. And the FBI, they haven't really brought anything against Ogles that I can see where they've charged him with any actual crime, have they? Maybe I missed it. But now it looks like all indications are that they are going to at least drop the investigation, or at the most part, put it on the back burner. And I'm just telling you, and again, I'm not kissing anybody's butt. I'm saying that it could have something to do with the fact that the accusations made have no merit, or they're not nearly as serious as some in the media have proclaimed or said or reported. That's number one. And number two, why shouldn't Andy Ogles use high-powered attorneys? Because the left certainly used high-powered attorneys against Donald Trump and people in his orbit. It is 8 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning, 8 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Still closed this morning in Spring Hill, Saturn Parkway, the eastbound lanes between Main Street and Kedron Road. And that is because of a crash, and police are out there investigating. That should be out there for a while longer as well. Also want to let you know that it's 55 degrees now, but we're getting up to a sunny 72 later. Nice day ahead. The forecast and traffic coming up right after the news. I-24 eastbound lanes, they were shut down for hours yesterday. Cars were backed up for miles after a motorcycle crash. Police say that the cyclist was merging onto the roadway from Harding Place when he collided with the side of a tractor trailer. Now, that motorcycle driver is 36-year-old Derek McIntosh of Smithville. He was killed. 24 was opened up again after about 4 hours of cleanup and investigation. A joyride turned into a drag racing event on I-40 last night. When police spotted a car speeding, they tried to pull the driver over, but he sped off, being tracked by a police helicopter. Police were eventually able to pull the driver over on Murfreesboro Pike. 19-year-old Braden Hoffman was booked into jail for driving at speeds over 120 miles an hour. Police found pot and a pipe in his car as well. Hoffman was released on $34,000 bond. The families of victims of the Washington, D.C. plane crash visited that site yesterday. Today, the Army Corps of Engineers begins removing the jet and the helicopter wreckage from the Potomac River. And there's news, too, about that Friday night plane crash in Philadelphia.
The cockpit voice recorder has been found 8 feet down inside a massive crater where the Learjet made impact. The surrounding scene littered with burned-out cars. An 11-year-old and her 31-year-old mother, along with 4 crew members and 1 person on the ground, were killed. 22 were injured, some critically.
UBC's Allison Kosick reporting. President Trump welcomes Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. Among the issues they'll talk about, maintaining that fragile ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas. Speaking earlier with Dan Mandis, the Heritage Foundation's James Carafano doesn't think Hamas will violate the terms of the agreement at this point.
I think Hamas will not risk holding on to hostages in the end, raising the ire of Trump once again. So this will play out. We'll move on to the next phase of the future, which is we try to figure out how these guys can live together in the region.
Hamas has said it will not release hostages in the second phase without an end to the war and Israeli forces' full withdrawal. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Those tariffs this morning, or the threat of them, is causing investors to pull back a bit. We've got the Dow futures down 631 points. NASDAQ futures are minus 406. S&P futures, they're down 101. That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. That crash is still being worked on and investigated on Saturn Parkway eastbound lanes in Spring Hill. So it's closed off Main Street to Kedron Road. Got a crash involving some injuries on Old Hickory Boulevard at South Fork Boulevard. In Laverne, it's Firestone Parkway at Heil Quaker Boulevard. That's an accident scene this morning as well. And 65 northbound lanes at Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 74. Crash there blocking off the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.807 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Monday, February 3rd of 2025. Our friend David Cohn is joining us from the Daily Wire's Crane and Company Sports Show. And David, I was triggered over the weekend by an article that I saw in the Tennessean about how Nashville, apparently they're trying to bring a WNBA team to Music City. Now, you've got apparently some pretty big names behind this move. Nashville is trying to lure them here. Former Governor Bill Haslam is one. Somebody said that Tim McGraw may be another one, and I think he's married to Faith Hill. Is that it, right? So, I mean, there's some big names behind this, it would appear. You really think that Nashville needs a WNBA team? Has there been people clamoring for the WNBA?
Well, first off, Dan, happy Monday, and thank you so much for having me. Need is a strong word. There was a couple things that struck me when I discovered this news as well. Yeah, I don't know what the appetite is for Nashville for a WNBA team, but if you're going to try and increase the appetite or at least show the WNBA and more than likely the NBA, who subsidizes that league, that you're very serious, getting some names like Peyton Manning and Tim McGraw and Candace Parker, that's a good way to go about it. One thing I do find a little bit odd is that it would be Nashville as the destination city rather than Memphis. I look around the WNBA and, you know, almost every team is paired up with an NBA team in the city where you already have those stadiums and you already have those teams. So splitting it up where you have the Memphis Grizzlies, but then you would have the Nashville team here is a little bit odd. I will say something, though, on a positive note. The proposed name for this team would be the Nashville Summit, or at least that's what I've seen or the Tennessee Summit, I believe it is, in honor of the late Pat Summit. I think that would be an awesome name if we were to have a WNBA team just to honor her. But yeah, I'm not really sure what the appetite is for Nashville for a league, especially if the league is going to continue to treat its biggest star, Caitlin Clark, who's driving a lot of this interest, if they're going to sort of continue to treat her in the way they have.
Yeah, and I do want to get to the Caitlin Clark thing. I thought this was interesting, though, because Mayor Freddie O'Connell also is all in on this. The Tennessean, though, had this line. The franchise could also raise the city's profile as a major sports town. Would it?
No, that's if there are other reasons to bring a WNBA team, then just say that. This is not going to raise a profile, not in the way that an MLB expansion team would. And I know that Nashville has been clamoring for a Major League Baseball expansion team, and we'll see. Is this a situation where they can sustain both, or is this a one or the other? Or, you know, is Nashville in serious contention for either one? I mean, here's the breakdown of it right now. There are 12 WNBA teams across the league, and there are already 3 more set to join by 2026. So that's Golden State, Portland's going to add one. Toronto's going to add one in Canada, and that's all set to join by next year. Well, that gives you 15, an odd number, so they're talking about a 16th expansion team, and Nashville's not all alone in this. They're competing against Cleveland, Kansas City, Philadelphia. I mean, first off, just the sheer size of Philadelphia, I think, would make them a top contender for the WNBA team. But then also, when you think of Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Mahomes, is very involved in women's sports out there and has led many initiatives. I think they're going to be a serious player for this. So again, I don't know. I think if you really want to try and win it, though, getting names like Peyton Manning, who, you know, if you wonder who Peyton Manning is, just look at a commercial these days. I don't know an ad the guy's not in.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out, David Cohen, join us, is the WNBA. First of all, it's being reported they had a record-breaking year in 2024. Sellout games more than doubled. TV ratings, they say, have skyrocketed. Social media engagement is also up big time. Is that solely because of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the two big names from last year? Or have they really, as a league, turn the corner? Because I believe they're still losing money.
Yeah, well, you can't say solely because of them. And this is what the WNBA tries to say, right? Is, no, this is so much more than just one player. Well, technically, they're right. They've laid a lot of foundation, but please stop trying to ignore the fact that you have your biggest superstar entering the league, and that's what's driving interest. So let's just cover a few things here. We're coming up on 3 decades of existence for the WNBA, and the league has never once turned a profit. It is subsidized by the National Basketball Association, and that all by itself is not necessarily a bad thing. How many companies have a department that drives a lot of revenue, and they pay for other departments for research or whatever, and hopefully someday you'll turn a profit, right? Well, now you have this moment where a star has entered the league. This is very, very similar to the PGA Tour in the mid-'90s when Tiger Woods comes on the scene. People who loved professional golf before Tiger Woods, there was a market there, and they really loved it, and there were some great players. But what led to national and then international prominence was Tiger Woods coming on the scene. Can you imagine the PGA Tour saying, no, let's kind of just bury him behind Phil Mickelson and David Duval and all these other golfers, because we really don't want him to be the face of professional golf. Well, not only was he that, but even now, as he's, you know, not really a serious contender in majors anymore, he still moves the needle most for the golf league, and that's almost 30 years ago.
The thing that I don't get, I mean, you're right, David, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the thing that I'm dying to ask this question. So they don't embrace Caitlin Clark. So on the one hand, clearly she is their biggest star. Clearly, a lot of that social media engagement that they saw last year was because Caitlin Clark, by some accounts, she was literally assaulted on the basketball court by the other players. So that's number one. Number two, you had Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift. They were hanging out watching the Chiefs game together weekend before last, I guess. And the WNBA, they didn't even use it for marketing purposes. So if you're seeing a surge in interest because of Caitlin Clark, yet they allow these other players to go after her really, really viciously on the court, and they're not embracing her, I don't understand why there's this disconnect between what she brings to the league and they're not willing to acknowledge it.
Yeah, well, it has to be cultural, Dan. I mean, keep this in mind. She wasn't even on the promotional material when she led her team to the playoffs. So not even like a league-wide thing like you're talking about. Wow, a moment right there. You can literally just take a screenshot of her with Taylor Swift watching a Chiefs game before the Super Bowl and share that, and we can, draw millions and billions of eyeballs. No, not even that. Even when her team makes the playoffs, she's not on the promotional material. You'll never be able to explain that to me where the answer is satisfying. So the WNBA is going to have to figure that out. And also, Dan, there's another part of this is, I said that the league is subsidized by the NBA. Well, they have their own problems. Now, I'm not saying that they're going broke necessarily. I don't know what the finances of the league are, but I know that ratings and viewership are not just down. I mean, they've halved. The viewership is down 48% in the last 12 years. So much so that Adam Silver, the commissioner of that league, is talking about, well, you know what? Maybe we should go to 40-minute games instead of 48, and let's just cut these quarters down to 10-minute quarters. I'll tell you, Mr. Silver, the length of the games is not your problem. Again, you have cultural issues. You have stars not wanting to play. You have load management. There's all sorts of problems that former NBA fans, basketball fans like myself, who loved growing up and watching Michael Jordan and the Bulls and all those teams, just, we're tired of it and we're done with it.
8:15, Nashville's Morning News. Going to dive into that a little bit more. Coming up, time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, 70 degrees for your high under sunny skies. Going to be a great day. 52 now at WTN. David Cohn joining us. So you talk about how the NBA is having a lot of problems. Their ratings are down. The attendance is down. And you talk about how this is a cultural problem. I mean, I'm with you. I used to watch Kobe. I used to watch Shaq. I used to watch Michael Jordan, going way back, Larry Bird and so forth. And so for whatever reason, I fell out of interest with the NBA. And I think part of it is just there was a lack of, seemed to me, like marketable stars here in the more recent decade or so.
Well, yeah, and that's interesting because the talent on the court, I mean, is as good as it's ever been. I mean, the star, like when you say star, I don't know if we're talking about just how good they are at the game or how we as fans are able to connect with them, because there's great basketball players. And look, I'm not saying that those guys in the past, the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans and the Larry Birds, I'm not saying that their egos were any less big, right? Like they had the biggest egos in the world. They were sports superstars in their own time and in their own right. But at least it seemed there was an attempt to be grateful towards the public. I know that I'm a professional athlete, and we take pride in the product we're delivering to you. I don't get that anymore from the NBA. And when you combine that with a social media era where how people consume their sports and their media is changing, and this is an excuse the NBA and in some part the WNBA has tried to give, is that, well, people just consume the games differently now. They're watching the highlights on social media rather than the full games on television and cable, and that's why our ratings are down. Well, you know what? The era has changed for every sport, so why is the NFL up? Right? Because the NFL and now the NFL lost its own viewers for some cultural issues, and viewers they'll never get back, but at least they tried to turn the tide the best they could to deliver a product that people still want to see.
Yet still no Major League Baseball team in Nashville or Tennessee. Is there any news on expansion real quick? Because we've got Chiefs fans and Eagles fans here on this show. I do want to get a Super Bowl prediction, but real quick, any news on expansion deals or teams wanting to move out of their current situation coming to Nashville or Tennessee?
Well, we talk about it a lot on our show, Crane and Company, over at the Daily Wire, because my two co-hosts and I, we grew up Braves fans. The Braves were sort of the South's team. And so, we say, well, look, we're not going to stop being Braves fans. But at the same time, it would be really great if there was a baseball club right down the road here where we could take our sons and they could fall in love with the game as well. So I'm going to stay tuned to see if there is any news. Hopefully by the next time I come on here, maybe we will have an update. But again, I'm interested now to see, can Nashville have a Major League Baseball team and a WNBA team? Can those work together with everything else the city has going on, building the new NFL stadium and things like that? Or is this a one or the other? I'm going to track down all that stuff for the next time we speak.
All right, Eagles and Chiefs, who's going to win?
Yeah, well, you'd have to be a fool at this point to bet against the Kansas City Chiefs, even though I think you could make a case, and we did last week on our show, that the Eagles have a better roster. I mean, from top to bottom on both sides of the line of scrimmage, the running back position, wide receivers, defensive backs. The Eagles are a very good team. But the thing about the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 playoff games so far this year, their opponents have outgained them in total yards and didn't turn the football over. That seems like a pretty good recipe to win football games, right? Except the Kansas City Chiefs won both those games.
I don't know. Hey, Joan, did you hear that David Cohn called you a fool?
Yeah,
I want to make sure you heard
I'm
that.
not a fool. My boys are going to take it all the way. EAGLES, Eagles.
Wow. Well, first off, at least you can spell Eagles. Maybe you should be mayor of Philadelphia. But also, this is a situation where I feel like I was on speakerphone the whole time, and I never really knew. But I guess I'm on speakerphone to all of Nashville. I do think that Philadelphia is built to keep this game close. I played with Brandon Graham at the University of Michigan. He's one of my dearest friends. When we talk about sports stars with egos, that guy's not one of them. I want all the success in the world for him. And remember, he had the strip sack on Tom Brady when the Eagles beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl several years ago. He's practicing for the first time since coming back from injury at defensive end. He's going to play in the Super Bowl. He texted me this week. So for him, if Philadelphia wins this thing, I'm going to be extremely proud for him. But what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are doing right now is just absolutely unprecedented. And I just hope we get a great football game.
That's all what I want. I just want a great game, and I want the game to be worth me staying up late.
Yes, and please watch our live stream. Crane & Company is going to live stream the Super Bowl from Mission Cigar and Social in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We're going to be coming live commentary, live wagering. Please tune in to us while you have the game up on your TV as well.
Can folks, I mean, obviously I'm on in Nashville. You live here. So can people come and hang out with,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mission Cigar and Social in Spring Hill, Tennessee, just down here south of Franklin and Thompson Station. We've live streamed every college football playoff game from there. We also live stream the NFC and AFC championship games from there. So please go in there, grab you a cigar, say hello. We're going to be simulcasting, and we'll have the commentary. A lot of people just mute the game on their TV and keep our audio on. We'll have live betting, and it should be a lot of fun.
Wear your green.
Yeah. I'll have to remain kind of neutral, but like I said, I won't be mad if Philly wins.
So when is Tom Brady doing the play-by-play for this game?
That's a good question. I don't know if he is. Are you a fan of what Tom Brady's doing?
No, I don't. He's not as good as what's the other
Romo?
guy? Yes,
Romo?
he's not as good as Tony Romo.
It's funny you say that because it doesn't look like. I'm not sure if he's calling this game or not. It's funny you say that because I've laughed recently. Tony Romo is so good, and I think the only one who was better than Romo was when John Gruden was on. John Gruden was as good as it gets too, but Tony Romo has such a knack for this. I just think it's so ironic that Tony Romo was finally able to be better than Tom Brady at something, but it took post-playing career for that to happen. And again, Tom's still new to this. I expect him to go watch the film and improve and all those things.
Tony Romo, though, and I find this an interesting conversation. Tony Romo, he was good from day one. And clearly Tom Brady, there's just something about him. He just doesn't have that spark that a Tony Romo or a John Gruden has.
Well, you're right. Yes, it's Fox. So Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady will be calling this game. So look, once again, in a Super Bowl, all eyes will be on Tom Brady.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, if you don't like Tom Brady, and there's a lot of Tom Brady haters, as you said, just go when the game happens, just mute the game and listen to Crane & Company from their remote in Spring Hill. One more time, where is it, David?
Sir.
Where is it again?
Yes, sir. Mission Cigar and Social in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and that's where we be coming live from. But we'll be on all platforms. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on Daily Wire Plus. We'll be on X. We'll be everywhere that they have electricity and electronics.
And make sure if you go see David and you heard about him on this show, make sure you tell him that Dan said hello. So there you go. David, always great to have. By the way, real quick, what's your X handle?
David Adam Cone, Cone.
All right, we'll talk to you soon again soon. 8:24, Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones is here. Hey, Joan, what's up?
Yep, stocks are about to start trading, Dan, and it's not looking like a good day on Wall Street. We've got that and more coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. At 8:24, Dan Mandis here for my friends at Zero Res. Now, you know that I used to worry about the chemicals that carpet companies would use on my carpets, and that's why I started using Zero Res years ago, because they clean your carpets with powered water. A lot of those other carpet cleaning companies, they do use chemicals. Again, Zero Res powered water. No harsh chemicals, no soap, and no residue. Zero Res, it is safe for my kids and pets, and that is why I've been using Zero Res for years. Now, the science behind Zero Res and their water cleaning agents, it is much healthier than using those soaps and detergents and chemicals that those other companies use. Again, this is why I so advocate for Zero Res. Now, that is the Zero Res difference, and that's why I've been a customer for years. Using Zero Res will also help with smelly carpet, and your allergies will be helped as well. Now, right now, a great deal going on for the month of February. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $109. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned, $109. $50 off of air duct cleaning. Restrictions may apply. Call them for the Dan deal, 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Book online, ZeroResNashville.com.
I'm Christy O'Brien.
828, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Window Nation. Now, this is my window company. They've put 4 windows in my home in the last couple of years, and I suspect that they're going to be back here in 2025 because they do great work. So if 2025 is the year that you upgrade your home, start with a call to Window Nation. They're offering you a full, listen to this, 60% off all window styles, and you pay nothing for 2 full years. No payments, no interest for 24 months. That is a great deal for great windows from Window Nation. They've got some of the best insulated windows that money can buy. So not only are you saving 60% on the windows, but the savings last for years to come on energy bills. You know, they've got over 20,000 5-star reviews, including mine, and Window Nation has a 96% customer satisfaction rating. Even Forbes ranked Window Nation highest on their list of best window installation. Now, don't forget that great deal. 60% off all window styles, and you pay no interest and no payments for 2 full years. Mention my name, Dan Mandis, when you call 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.
Good morning. It's 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top story. Still closed off this morning in Spring Hill on Saturn Parkway near Kedron Road. And we've just learned that is because a pedestrian was struck and killed by a vehicle in that location just after 5 o'clock this morning. Spring Hill police are asking anyone who witnessed that incident to contact their department. In the news of the day, the coming tariffs shook up pre-market trading on Wall Street this morning, sending futures falling. And in a moment, we'll take a look after the opening bell. ABC's Mary Bruce tells us there's some action, though, on the tariffs this morning from Mexico.
Well, President Trump acknowledges that these tariffs may cause some economic pain for Americans, but he says it is worth it to send a message. And first thing this morning, he is expected to speak with the Mexican president and Canadian prime minister as the markets now brace for these tariffs, which could impact everything from the price of cars to groceries. China is also denouncing these Trump tariffs, promising, quote, countermeasures and threatening to take legal action against the U.S. at the World Trade Organization.
The tariffs are set to begin tomorrow. Trump justifies them by blaming Mexico, Canada, and China for trade imbalances and the flow of illegal immigrants and illegal drugs into the U.S. Workers for the U.S. Agency for International Development have been told to stay home today. The headquarters are closed, according to an overnight email. As many as 600 workers said that they were locked out of their USAID computer systems overnight. Elon Musk had promised to close down the government's agency for carrying out foreign assistance programs yesterday after Secretary of State Marco Rubio froze most foreign aid as part of a 90-day review. After two deadly plane crashes, a lot of passengers are on edge. Yesterday, a United Airlines flight from Houston bound for New York, it slammed to a halt just before taking off with an engine on fire, and smoke was starting to fill the cabin.
People were screaming. There were people jumping over the seats trying to get off the plane.
That woman on the flight, all 104 people evacuated safely. Let's take a look at those stocks now as trading begins on Wall Street this morning. The Dow Jones Industrial starting out 397 points lower. NASDAQ down 371. S&P 500 index is down 84 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Think of Joan, 8:33, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. Sell your home with a guaranteed offer from my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate and receive the strongest cash offer in the industry. You're going to save time and make the most money with the guaranteed offer. From Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the hassles of getting your home ready to sell. You can receive an all-cash offer and close in as little as 21 days. With Mark Spain Real Estate, there's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Now, listen to their client. This is Jerry and his experience. He says, quote, we needed to move quickly and we were worried the process would be lengthy and we would spend a lot of money on repairs. Mark Spain Real Estate got us an offer in just 3 days and it was over the asking price. It was amazing, Jerry says. Selling your home is a big decision and who you work with matters. As the most experienced real estate team in the industry, you can trust my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. Tell him Dan told you to reach out. 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. You can always find them online anytime. MarkSpain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Saturn Parkway, the eastbound lanes in Spring Hill still closed off Main Street through Kedron Road, and that's because of a pedestrian accident this morning. Glencliff, it's a crash on 40 westbound before Spence Lane, and it blocks the right shoulder. Germantown, Jefferson Street at Rosa L. Parks Boulevard, a crash involving injuries. And in Whites Creek, Briley Parkway, the eastbound lanes at Brick Church Pike, a crash reported there as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? Bless you.
Thank you.
Chris Han. He's been in here for 10 minutes. He decided just as the microphones go on to sneeze.
Sorry.
Timing, as they say, Chris, is everything.
He's sharing with you is what he's doing.
Sharing is caring.
Yes.
Sharing all your snot
Oh,
with
yeah.
me.
Get ready. It's coming.
Thanks, Chris. You're so
Good God.
Yeah, we're all about to get sick.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hungover. We got Malinoff here, KGB, and Joan is here as well. My guest said that Joan was, what did he call you, Joan? Did he call you a loser? Is that what he called you?
I think it was loser or something along those lines,
because she's
this is slander.
rooting for the Eagles.
ESGLSES, Eagles.
I know how to
You
spell,
forgot the
mister.
W.
I forgot the
Come
W.
on.
Yeah, they're going to forget the W, too.
Oh,
ouch.
that's good.
Oh, man.
I just want the stadium to implode and cancel the game.
Anyway.
I just hope both teams have fun.
I want them both to lose.
That's so
I don't want
lame.
anyone happy after the Super Bowl. I want everyone sad.
Hey, Chris, you know what we need to do?
What do we got to do?
When the Eagles get their butts handed to them,
No.
can we bring Joan a participation trophy?
Let's do it.
I have a bunch my mom kept, so yes.
Do you? Just bring one in.
I like
bring
how he
one in
says,
for Joan.
I like how he says a bunch.
Yeah, no, because she kept all three of my brothers because we all played soccer and stuff, and they, you know, back then they always gave you trophies. And I told her when we were moving out here to Nashville, I'm like, throw them all away, and she straight up refused.
Wait a minute, hold on. So you, KGB,
I never kept
have
them.
received participation
Of
trophies?
course, yeah, but I always like hand them to my mom afterwards. I'm like, all right, thanks.
Did you ever ask, why am I getting this participation
Oh
trophy?
yeah, I did. I remember. And she's just, I think she gave me some BS excuse. You know, I was 8 at the time, but I have the trophies I actually won first place in like tournaments and stuff. I still have, but
Now-
I never kept the ones that I was 0 and 8 in soccer leagues.
Yeah, we didn't do participation trophies when I was a kid, but they wouldn't if it was they had them back then. I wouldn't even get a participation trophy back then because, frankly, I rode the bench all the time, so I didn't even participate.
Hey, that's a trophy for warming up the bench for everybody else. Good job, Dan.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Jeff. Anyway, but you know what? Here's the great thing, though. This is interesting, though, Chris, is that young KGB is part of that participation trophy generation.
Yep.
But, I mean, he's not only is he really good at his job, but he actually shows up and has a great work ethic.
He does.
Maybe we should bring him a participation trophy as well.
Wait,
as a matter of
are
fact,
these compliments?
As a matter of fact, Jeff, next time you ask for a raise, we'll just go ahead and give you that participation trophy.
You can add it to the trophy room.
Yeah.
And then you'll wonder. Then you'll wonder why I don't show up the next day.
The Malinoff trophy room got another one.
There you go. Congratulations, Jeff. Anyway, we're just kidding. All right. Yeah, so I'm a little hungover today. So Joan's got a great story.
I do.
Where
are you drunk dialing Joan last night?
No,
he was actually. We were in the same area.
We were both at Arrington.
Yeah.
The drunk call is like, Joan, what's the news?
And so here comes Dan. Hey, Joan, I just saw you. I was over there waving and you didn't even see me. And I'm like, oh, hey, Dan. And I went in for a hug. He hugged me.
Oh.
That's how you know he was like trashed.
Was I slurring my words at all?
Yeah.
Was I? It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I won't even sugarcoat that one.
Joan, what's the news? Joan, tell me the news.
So Amy and I go to Arrington. We see Joan. And I'd forgotten that you had said on Friday that you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And so we, I was so sloshed. I'm still drunk. I had had a lot to drink. Sloshed. And we had like 4 or 5, I think maybe 6 bottles of wine.
Oh my gosh.
We just, yeah.
Did Amy have any of it or was it just all of you?
Pretty much me. Well, she had some to drink earlier, but she knew that she had to drive, clearly, because I was not in any shape to drive.
So you took one for the team.
I sure did. Listen,
took one for everybody else, too.
We bought this wine, and we're going to drink it. And when we said it was me. So, I mean, it was, so that was on Sunday.
Yeah, that was
Now,
really interesting.
Saturday night, I hung out with Pamela Furr at 3rd and Lindsley. 3rd and Lindsley.
So you were on a bender this weekend.
And no, I always shank 3rd and Lindsley because I can never figure out what the heck the name is. But anyway, I went to go see that band Six Wire. You know who they are. They're the band that played at the RNC.
Oh.
Those guys, I'm not one to go to clubs and that kind of thing.
You're not much of a clubber?
No, I'm not much of a clubber. But I mean, I don't know what you call, 3rd and Lindsley. But I mean, these Six Wire, unbelievably good. And they played the RNC, and they're like a rock and roll kind of a thing. They've been in Nashville for like 25 years, something like that. But I had a lot to drink there as well. So I think the quality of the show today tells you that I'm just a wee bit still hungover.
You got to get one of those liquid IVs. Get yourself some electrolytes.
Oh, that would help. Next time I'll be Nurse Cratchit and bring you in
There's a spot
IV.
right over there, but across the street where you can get one of those hangover IVs.
Really? All right. Well, it's too late now because the show's over.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Show's over. I told Malinoff behind the scenes, it show's a positive C-, man. That's where it was. You know what? If there's ever a show that I feel like I deserve a participation trophy, it is this one.
Well, it's like your parents when you're like, okay, you got to C. But I know you really tried hard.
C's get degrees, my man.
This was a hard-fought C.
It's exactly right.
A hard-fought C.
I tried really hard.
Just a pat on the head. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Did I tell you, by the way, I'm really angry with you.
What did I do?
Uh-oh.
It's not what you did.
Oh.
It's what you did. So I get hauled into the boss's office on Friday. Did you hear about this?
No. Did I get you suspended again?
So
again,
I've been talking a lot about vaccines.
Oh no.
No. So in the old days when they'd pull out audio and they'd play for you audio.
Yeah.
That you got to do this wrong and right, whatever. So he pulls up the video. And he says, I need you to sit like Chris Hand. You see how Chris Hand is sitting all nice and erect? And I'm like,
pause.
I need you to stop right there.
So he pulls up a video of you, and you're,
looking good,
sitting up straight, and he says, Dan, you're kind of a huncher.
Yeah.
My mom's voice, God bless her soul, she's passed on, but I could hear her in my head for years. Danny, sit up straight, stand up straight, your back's all hunched. And she would do this thing. My mom, 2 things. I love you, Mom, if you're listening. For once. She would see me, and she would take her finger, and she would run it up against my spine. And that was her reminder to me to stand up straight. She did that to me through junior high and high school. She did it at my wedding, both of them.
At your wedding?
Yes, at both of them.
I have a feeling you have something against your mother.
No. I love my mother.
Do you need Malinoff to come in and caress your spine before?
I'm not. I'm not going near
How about
him.
that for a participation trophy?
My friendship with Dan is 6 feet. Still COVID rules.
It's actually 12. You just don't know that yet. And then she would whenever she would hug me, she would, and longtime listeners to the show know this, she would squeeze my belly fat. She would like.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
She would test it because my mom love her to death. She obsess about my weight, and she did that because I was really overweight, like big time overweight a long time ago. So she always badgered me about that too, and so. But
did the program director bring up the weight, or is just the hunching?
Actually, the PD just goes, Dan, man, you just your fat is just your belly fat's sticking out too. You got to stand up straight.
The hunching was fine, but when he started pinching my belly, I thought it was a little.
Look at Chris. See how skinny he is and perfectly straight.
Could you drop about 15, 20 pounds, Dan? And,
before tomorrow.
Just look more like Chris, would you? I mean, that's what the meeting was about.
He's like one of those things. Like, yeah, Chris is so great. Chris, Chris.
We're gonna get you an eyebrow magician too, just like Chris.
Got to get the goatee like Chris too.
Yeah. Chris. We've talked about this before. Chris's eyebrows are like a baseball stadium field. They're just so manicured.
Manicured.
It's a God thing. It's a God thing.
Okay. And I miss America.
For Halloween, you got to get like a wig that looks like Chris's hair. You got to like dye your beard a little bit and just like straighten up as straight as you can.
And they also said that I'm not facing the camera like the way that I'm supposed to, because I was doing this and the powers that be got mad, so I'm now doing. I turned to my right like 4 inches.
We didn't update this studio for you to slouch, man.
Yeah.
You know
You're not going to ruin this for everybody.
It was like, basically, it was like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
Because you slouch.
You're ruining it for everyone else, Dan.
And then Lindsay, thank you, Lindsay, because I don't feel bad enough. Like, because I truly, this is apparently I needed my own participation trophy. So Lindsay on the YouTube chat line says, I miss Dan's glasses.
Wow.
Yeah, like just as soon as she joined, she goes, good morning, everyone. I miss Dan's glasses.
We all do.
And then left the chat.
Oh, she left the chat?
I don't know. That's how I feel.
No, I just cut her off. I just like
walk in, criticize, leave.
She's been blocked.
Listen,
that's hilarious.
I miss my glasses too. And I feel like I got droopy eyes.
You got droopy eyes?
I feel like I got droopy eyes. I feel like I've got like a Popeye.
Dan, do you like anything? Dan, tell me what you like about yourself, please, for the sake of just positivity.
So what you got coming up?
There you go.
Have you guys heard about what's going on in Canada?
No.
It's still around?
Yeah, it is. It is. Not the tariffs.
Okay.
I'm talking about the second biggest story happening in Canada.
No. Have not heard it.
Okay. This is all Canadians are talking about. It happened in Alberta. There was a wild drunk guy at a bar, probably similar to how you were acting at the Vineyards yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
But he got into a fight. So police had to restrain him and security had to restrain him. And during this scuffle, restraining this guy, he was wearing gym shorts, like the loose gym shorts.
Yeah.
Well, those dropped.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
They dropped. So his shorts and his underpants are around his ankles. And police laid him down on the ground. And you ever see that scene in A Christmas Story where the kid gets his tongue stuck to the telephone pole?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It happened.
No.
Oh, no.
It wasn't his tongue.
Nope.
So
I'm walking around.
His pants and his underwear are down at his ankles, and
They put him face down?
Listen, the headlines in Canada today are Trump tariffs, Alberta man.
so his manhood got frozen to the ground.
Oh yeah.
Every guy listening just flinched a little bit.
They left him there for 20 minutes.
No. Oh.
God.
Why do I find this so funny?
And then
Oh, my
they
gosh.
They didn't like grab hot water or anything.
Oh.
They just picked him up?
They just gave him a tug.
Oh, goodness.
I'm gonna puke.
And
they gave him a tug?
word on the street is if he wasn't circumcised before,
Oh, God. Chris.
he is now.
I need a moment right now. I got to just thank God that
So
I'm
is
not
he
this
okay?
guy.
Chris is on cold meds this
Okay.
morning.
He's going to be all right.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Oh, my
I think
God.
so.
God, that is like,
You know, those poor cops. I mean, they had to. I mean, I don't know why I'm
No,
defending the cops, but they did have to, tug it.
no.
Do you want to hear a quote from the man?
Sure.
Still don't understand why it was necessary to rip my bleeping drawers clean off while I'm being arrested with 3 cops and 2 security bleeps on me, but that's okay.
Is he going to sue? I wonder if he's going to sue. Can you sue the police in Canada?
I don't know. I don't know
He's
if you're
going to
allowed
sue
to.
the pants off of them.
He said, man, I don't know how I get myself in these bleeped up situations. Guess that's what I get for being a drunk lunatic at a bar.
Okay, so here's a
Well,
question
there's
for
that.
you.
Yeah.
And then he said, eh?
It's Alberta. It's Alberta. What's the guy doing in shorts in the first place?
Oh, it was a nice
Canadians can handle the cold.
He's a drunk lunatic.
Okay.
Joan, didn't you hear that first part?
Canadians have adapted to the cold weather. Let's just be real.
Dan, you could be friends with that guy.
Sure, Joan.
So now he's the second most famous man from Alberta behind Bret Hart.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
I'm not sure who that is, but
Me neither. I'm
Okay.
glad you said so.
all right. What do you got coming up?
Chris will never understand
Chris?
us.
They won't get it. We'll talk about U.S. aid. We'll talk about the Panama Canal, Canada, Mexico, China tariffs, and we'll start the show with Black History Month.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to. Remember, you've got to slouch, and you've got to face away from the camera.
I'm
That's
going to
what
change everything today. I'm not even going to look at the camera.
So that's what I need you to.
Then, Dan, you're going to be brought in and go, what? See what Chris is doing? He changed it up. You got to change it up now.
We wish you could slouch more, Amanda.
Moving right along. 8:53, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. WTN Dan Mandis here. What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple of $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with my friends at Loan Pronto. Now, Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Now, Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, and often no appraisal. Now, listen, the average homeowner right now has over $300,000 in equity. That is your money, so you should use it. Now, one client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, a couple of car loans, and personal loans as well, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. Now, you can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull. LoanPronto.com is the website, 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780, LoanPronto.com. Get the money you need for anything. 615-499-5780, LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. 8:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, every year I do this, and I'm looking forward to it. The Southern Home and Garden Show, I'm going to be there 11 to 1 this coming Saturday at the Farm Bureau Expo Center. I'm going to be there with my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Chad's going to be there as well.
They're not going to bring wine, are they?
No, I think the word is out that no, Mandis is no longer allowed to be anywhere around wine.
They're prepping.
And yes, and apparently Arrington Vineyards also. My name is like right up there by the guard shack. Don't let this guy in. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. And Chris Hand has an incredible show coming up next. And don't forget, next Saturday, 11 to 1, Southern Home and Garden Show. I'll be hanging out there with Chad from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Super.